being a net exporter of agricultural products. China, which used to be the most populous country, now second, is a huge net importer. Africa as a continent, a big net importer and likely to be so in the coming years. They are going to face really the challenge on this planet what India was facing in mid-60s and early 70s. By the end of this century, 1/3 of humanity will be living in Africa, and African soils are even worse than Indian soils. Now, we did achieve so-called the food security. We have fed in some way our people, the largest population. We are net exporter of agriculture. On rice, our exports this year, 24-25, are more than 20 million tons in a global market of 61 million tons. There are issues whether we are exporting too much water and whether this is real comparative advantage that we have in rice, or is it the policies of subsidization that are leading to. But all said and done, as far as the availability of food is concerned, there is ample. Where the challenge still remains on the table is human nutrition. And this challenge is not going to go away for the next 2-3 decades. 35% of our children below 5 years of age are stunted. So where is the future of India? If they are stunted, their capacity to think, analyze, and do. So that's the challenge on the table. And we will have to find solutions in the same way perhaps we found in 1960s through Green Revolution. So Green Revolution saved millions of lives, but in the race to produce more to feed our increasing mouths, we did not pay enough attention to this planet's basic resource endowment. And that is what we call the soils, the water, the air, and the biodiversity. All these 4 have been neglected. And there is a price that we are paying. The question is, if our soils are getting damaged or our water table is depleting and getting contaminated, and if our air is getting polluted more and more, and biodiversity we are losing, then will we keep on growing at the same pace at which we have been able to do? Or there will be sudden breaks. And that is a challenge that we have to confront. So the time is ripe for us not only to produce more, but also repair the damage that we have done to the planet's resource endowment. That is the challenge that we want to discuss. We have done some work in ICRIER on water and air. Dr. Reena Singh is here, and we have brought out some publications on low carbon agriculture and also looking at what is happening on the waterfront, especially in Punjab, Haryana, the crisis, ecological disaster that is taking place there. But we haven't done much work on the soils. And soils are critical for agriculture, although there is hydroponic and aeroponic and whatnot, but 95% of the food that is being produced on this planet today comes from land, and soil is the most critical factor of that land. So the issue that we want to discuss, and this is the way we have constructed this roundtable, is 2 different schools of thought. One that saved us from starvation, the chemical fertilization, that is, you nourish the soils more, produce more, that saved us. The Green Revolution could not have, we say the seed, but seed could not have given you more unless you have applied more of chemical fertilizers. But then there is another school of thought, and that is that we can perhaps get that much of productivity through natural farming and natural means and some innovations in that. We had studied earlier natural farming. You would have heard 2, 3 budgets. Finance minister talked about zero budget natural farming. So we worked on that for a year or so. And we found even ICAR own institute in Modipuram worked on that and found that wheat and rice productivity drops by almost 29 to 50%. Now, can we afford that much drop in productivity if we go for pure so-called zero budget natural farming? But so far the debate is not fully settled, and there are some new innovative products which, although they say have been thousands of years in practice, biochar. So here we have tried to bring the two schools of thought. One, which is the dominant one, the chemical industry, and how to use those chemical fertilizers taking care of the soil. And some innovations have been done, particularly by some of the companies which are doing customized fertilizers and taking care of the soil as well as productivity. Because India cannot afford to let the productivity go down because of the population pressure and income pressure. So our challenge is double. The largest population and incomes are rising, and they are going to eat more and more and better food. So how do we make nutritious food and produce more and still take care of our soils and water and air and biodiversity? So soil we will focus on, and we would listen to what the chemical fertilizer industry has to say. But then we have also a champion of biochar here, Dr. Sriram, who has not just talked about or written about, but he has transformed. And he will show some slides, I think, where the situation was in a particular area and how that area is turned into totally different landscape. And hopefully the productivity is also kept at a higher level. So that's the way we have visualized this. And my job is as a student to learn and introduce our major speakers. Let me have Dr. Manoranjan Mohanty. Their detailed profiles are in this particular folder, so you can go through that. But one thing is clear, he is supposed to take care of the soils of India, if not the world, right? He is the director of Indian Institute for Soil Sciences. It's an ICAR institute based in Bhopal, and he has spent his lifetime literally into looking at the soils. He'll be introducing and giving us a flavor of where the status of soils is and how damaged they are and what to do. But let me also have maybe your former boss. And that's Dr. Mahapatra. And I want to bring him after the soil question because he is responsible not just for soils, but the entire agriculture of India. He has been the Director General of Indian Council of Agriculture Research. I'm really grateful. But more than the Director General, he was earlier the director of Cuttack Rice Research Institute, right? And biofortification of rice, because that's one of the things that we will be talking about, how to do biofortification and create more nutrition in the crops itself through science. And I would love to hear what latest discoveries and innovations that they are doing. Right now, he is the looking at plant, what is it called? Chairperson, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Authority. right? So he's taking care of that too. And then we have the private sector, Yara CEO, Kanwarji Sanjeev. Yara, as most of you would be knowing, is the second largest fertilizer company in the world, right? It's and I'm impressed because they took over one of the best plants of the country, Tata's, right? Normally, Tata takes over many others. They have taken over the Tata, so they must be having very far-sighted vision. And they are doing something very unique, customized fertilizers and precision farming and all that. So we would love to hear his views on this. And of course, Dr. Sriram on the biochar. So that's after this, then we will be giving what our understanding of this entire thing is. So Ritika will be giving a presentation from ICRIER side, and then we will have Sanjeev ji and biochar. So first, let me invite Dr. Manoranjan Mohanty to give his views on where we stand on the soils question. Thank you.
Thank you, Gulati ji, for setting the context. Most respected former Secretary DARA and DGICR, Mahapatra sir ji. And of course, Gulati ji from ICRIER and Dr. Raghavendran from Heartfulness Institute and Sanjeev ji from Yara and distinguished guest. Thanks for the opportunity talking to all the distinguished persons sitting in this hall. So my presentation is not more of technical. I just wanted to introduce soil, how it is related to us, and how important is we need to take care of this, and what are the functions it plays in our life. So if I say in one sentence, what is soil? Soil is a living body. So it has life. So we have to nurture it. So nurturing soils will nurture the human, and it will also nurture the animals. And if I take a bit of soil and philosophy, because as I said, my presentation is a bit of not more of technical, just to take you through what people they thought about soil and how we are thinking about it. So if you see our Vedas or even the ancient Quran or in the Bible also, it has mentioned how important soil in our life. Soil is considered in general perception as the origin of life and the destination after death. So मिट्टी से आना है, मिट्टी में जाना है, वो सब चीजें आप जानते हैं. That's why even ancient Greeks also, they have mentioned everything was made of earth, water, air, and fire. So now you can relate how soil is important in our life. In ancient time also, it's described as one of the 5 elements life, the 4 being air, water, fire, and sky. So it is more of, taking to soil and philosophy. Similarly, in Guru Granth Sahib also, it is the earth is adored so much that it is equated to a place of worship and pray to. So that means soil was in our life, is, and it will be. आप जो भी सोचिए, so soil को आगे कैसे लेके जाना है, what function it plays. As I say, it is a living entity. So my presentation is, if you look at that 3 keywords, soil health, plant health, and animal health. So what function soil plays, I just want to give you that. That means if somebody's life, we have to maintain the health. Just like you have your life, so you have to maintain your health. Similarly, you have to maintain the soil health. So what function actually it does? So soil, the capacity of the of soil to function as a vital living ecosystem. It has life, and within ecosystem and land use boundaries to sustain plant and animal productivity, and or enhance water and air quality, because they are all related, and promote plant and animal health. So the functions, if I look at it, actually, as I mentioned, since it is life, which gives actually, which the microbes, they give life to the soil. So that helps in sustaining biological activity, diversity, and productivity. regulating and partitioning water and solid flow, because it's a bit of technical, but we're talking about soil, so bit of soil science. It's filtering water. Definitely, you are getting the good quality water because soil act as a buffer as well as filters and buffer and degrading, immobilizing, and detoxifying. All those organic, inorganic components, whatever, because it's a buffer. It accepts everything, whatever you add to the soil, and storing and cycling of nutrients and other elements within the Earth's biosphere. Otherwise, the plant would not have life. Or otherwise, if nutrients are not transformed or different forms, if they're not available forms because of presence of microbes, soil plays important role. And then providing support, socioeconomic structure, protection of archaeological treasure, all those things, what are happening, you can see around, it is because of soil, the quality of soil, the strength of the soil, all those things. So I just related to your food grain production when we got independent at the time. If I say it was 51 million tons through time now, 2022, now it's odd because different time steps I wanted to share. So our projection is to get 400 million tons in 2050. Then from now to that transition, that period of time. So how important soil is in our life. So that means we have to produce more than 30% for crop production, crop yield in the present circumstance without, increasing the cultivated area of 142 million hectares. I'll come to that 142 million hectares, but how much is actually in good health? What is the condition of the soils? I'll also come to that. But before I because Gulati sir bullet green revolution, how it changed our life. So if you see that, the fertilizer consumptions, how it is related to our food grain production, with time, the consumption of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium goes on increase as the food grain production increased. This is just to see the NPK consumptions over time. Then one important is also, if I look at it, the relationship, NPK use and the food grain production is directly proportional to that. That means whatever food grain production we are having now, it is as you increase the consumption of these fertilizers, our food grain production has increased because of the green revolution. We got good varieties because they need more nutrition. Then we supplied them. But did we compromise somewhere? Gulati sahab bole thoda sa wo area bhi I'll cover that. Then fertilizer alone doesn't play important role. Water also, because water nutrient interaction is very much important. So aap dekhenge, you can see one slide at the left corner. So I think it should work actually. Anyway, at the left corner, you can see that actually, if in the irrigated as well as rainfed ecosystems with sufficient amount of nutrition, all those things, we can, and proper balanced fertilizer, we can increase the food grain production to 2,500 kg per hectare with proper nutrition. Then similarly, rainfed system also. So nutrient supplying from the soil, maybe from the external sources like fertilizer or the inherent capacity of the soil plays important role in food grain production. But after green revolution, the changes that made in the soil due to high input agriculture. So what it led to? It led to depletion of soil organic carbon, then loss of soil fertility and nutrient mining because you are growing, high valued crops as well as the variety that takes nutrient mining happen. The nutrient deficiency occurs. I will come to that also, what is the present condition of Indian soils. So being at Indian Institute of Soil Science, Bhopal, we have analyzed that. We have mapped the whole Indian soils related to measure and micronutrients and secondary nutrients. Then declining factor productivity and declining response ratio, because now we're adding more fertilizers without having, per increment, if you look at it. So there is decline in factor productivity and the soil degradation, salinity, alkalinity also increasing. And environmental pollution that that groundwater pollution situation in northwestern part of India because of high use of nitrogenous fertilizer. So since I talked about the conditions, now is that 50-60% of Indian soils are very low in nitrogen, in 50% also in phosphorus. You can see this is the status. And if you look at these micronutrients, zinc, the most deficient one. And the second nutrients like sulfur, which is required for oil seeds also, Indian soils are deficit in sulfur. And zinc, around 35% Indian soils are deficient in zinc. So the copper, iron, manganese, and boron also an important micronutrient Indian soils are deficient of. But we have poor quality soil, we have so many deficiencies of, occurring in the soils of different nutrients. And what about our nutrient supplying capacity, use efficiency of applied nutrient? If you look at the nitrogen, it is 30 to 50%. There are many ways that nitrogens, they are lost in the atmosphere in various forms. Similarly, phosphorus also 15 to 20, very low because it's a very notorious element. And potassium and say sulfur and other micronutrient very low. So how to improve this? But the key challenges ahead, as I mentioned, when you go on increasing the food grain production now to 2050, when you are expecting 166 billion people, 1.66. So at this time, so we need 35% more of food requirements, but as I mentioned, our area is fixed. We cannot increase because of 142 million hectares. Expansion forest area because as the population, the carrying capacity of the soil needs to be improved. So for the forest area need to be improved. Similar reduction, the most important is when you talk about net zero at 2070, then you have to take care of greenhouse gases, other elements also, they play an important role. Now, coming to that, when you talk about this depletion and the status of Indian soils in terms of various nutrients, I'll look at this, what the degradation, out of 142 million hectare, then total degraded land is 120 or 21 million hectare. In some forms of degradation, it may be water eroded or soil eroded soils, all those things. And annual soil loss, 5.3 billion tons. And annual nutrient loss also 8 million tons. And average soil loss is 16.4 tons per hectare per year. And physical constant like compaction and all those various forms, they are also. So when it challenges ahead is to how to, that's why the term land degradation neutrality, how to make balance, because degradation is increasing, but you have to make some balance. So what kind of balance we have to do? So we have to reverse the land degradation and reduce or avoid. So that means we have to manage our soils. And because we are, according to Prime Minister Modi ji announced that climate change India will achieve and degradation neutrality by 2030, we have to reduce you have to make a balance. So somewhere you need to have our soil policy. We have to take care of the soil, and government has to take some initiative too. Then coming to, because this is what actually the presentation is all about. So how soil health, crop nutrition and plant health, as well as human nutrition, human health are related. As I mentioned, soil provides you the nutrients, organic matter, all those things that the plant takes, and we are consuming the plants, and that will come. Because all those nutrients or all those micronutrients we don't produce in the body, we need some external sources. The soil through plant are the external sources that we require it. So it is important that we maintain the soil health. So linking soil health to human health, because there are some slides, maybe some information I want to share with you. So what people think, before this, crashed, and as well as now also, and what are the sources actually? What are those important resources that soil provides us? So in Vedas, I mentioned it, soil has been described as mother and human beings as a son. Then fertile soil was essential to well-being of people in the Bible. Similarly, I am not going to mention because I'm just wanted to show you that we had concept that to take care of the soil. Similarly, in 1921 also, McAddison, what he made, fertile soil, fertility of a soil determined the vitamin content of food crops grown on it, and therefore influenced human health. So this is the concept, soil as the origin of many mineral elements necessary for human health. That means people have been talking about it since, our inception, I would say that when we started getting knowledge. Similarly, this is also other areas also we have seen that people have reported in many scientific journals. So I am just want to mention one or two because I don't want to take more time on this. So if you look at this last 2, 3, so there is a dearth of wanted information on relation between elements in soils and human health in 1997 to us. The major breakthrough, the isolation of antibiotics. Most of the antibiotics found in soil, actually, that's human we're consuming. About 78% of antibacterial agents and 60% new cancer drugs approved in 1983 in US, 83-94 had their origin from soil. So you can think in that way how soil is important. I wanted to just give you that knowledge. Then what are the things actually you get from soil? So mere 11 elements constitute 99% of the atom of the human body. Now, those 11 elements are hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen, which makes 99% human body. And this second, all other elements like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine also the 0.9% approximately. So these includes also all those micronutrients, then iron, cobalt, and the vitamins. You name it, A, C, D, E, K, B1, B2. So all these things, when it's coming from soil, then how we can neglect such an entity which actually having, influence, day-to-day influence on our life. Actually, we are alive today because of soil. Then if I take it to the even how human immune system micronutrients related also, that micronutrient that I mentioned, they're also coming from soils. So I'm taking through the the biological structure against immunity, how we get the immunity, how soil contribute to the human immune system. So as I mentioned earlier also, these vitamins A, D, C, B12, folate, zinc, iron, copper, selenium, all those things are coming from soil. So these micronutrients play a vital role, often synergistic role in every stage of human immune response. And you know it in the COVID, so all your zinc tablets you have taken. So you can imagine that how important actually soil is for human health. Similarly, I don't want to repeat it again. Many micronutrients, as I mentioned, all those things, So people have reported recently also in 2020. So how important, actually, what are those, how micronutrients are the resources that we get from soils, that how important in our human health. One study we did with AIIMS Bhopal from Indian Institute of Soil Science. So the study was carried out jointly by All India Coordinated Research Project Micronutrient and Secondary Nutrients, then in Mandla and Betul district of Madhya Pradesh. So human blood serum was taken from two tribes, Gond and Korku tribes from Madhya Pradesh, through different sampling techniques. You can see the relationship, blood serum and zinc content, directly proportional in the soil zinc and so we collected the grains from those areas because we wanted to correlate the food they're taking, or how actually it is affecting their health. So you can see we took one example of zinc. It is directly proportional that, human blood serum content of zinc as well as the zinc is the food grain. That means you can imagine how important it's soil, just to sensitize you about this. Similarly, one important aspect recently, somebody was taken care of, soil health card. The data from soil health card was taken care of. Sampling all those things I don't want to, but I want to emphasize here that the women's hemoglobin content, children's growth, all those growth factors in human being and soil health card, the content and those related areas where the deficiency there, how they're correlated. That means this study also gives one example. See, somebody from outside has taken Morton et al. 2000, but they have taken soil health card of India and relate that with the human health and human growth. Then assessment, all those things is from our institute. So I just wanted to show that there are many, even PUSA, STFR, there are many techniques and technology to assess, through human. So we have developed some of the maps where we can show you through India that, these are the areas of deficiency, sufficiency level of micronutrients, secondary nutrients, and major nutrients. Then we have developed all those things. What are the techniques we can check so that you can assess the human health, bit of technical. So it is, all of you know it. Then when we talk about, maintaining the soil, so the conventional practice, as well as now we're talking about organic and regenerative agriculture, and government have different schemes also, how they are related. Here I am taking only a few parameters, just like soil organic carbon, microbial activity, nutrient balance, stability, and nutrient health. So when you talk about conventional way, we have seen that actually the way we are cultivating our soils, and that means organic carbon, microbial activity measured cases have come down. But in organic case, it will go up. Similarly, in regenerative agriculture, you talk about yield stability, okay, inorganic high, but it's short term. Sometimes, the demand for nutrient requirement crop has gone up. And though the productivity will enhance, but we have to take care of which way, or the balanced use of fertilization is important. So this is just, but that lead to micronutrient deficiency because of after post Green Revolution. So because of high amount of mining of those nutrients, the deficiency of micronutrients, secondary nutrients have gone up in Indian soils. Then options, as I mentioned, options to improve the soil health, definitely yes. Soil organic matter, soil organic carbon in other way. This is the building block of soil fertility that gives life to the microbes. As I mentioned, microbes, they are the living agent and they make the soil live. So it is important that they need enough food to survive, as well as they help in nutrient transformation. So judicious use of fertilizer and manures that we have seen our long-term experiments from 50 years. When you go for judicious use of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, along with micronutrients, as well as farm-made manure, some amount of organic matter, we have seen that the soil health has not declined, even after 50 years of cultivation from our long-term experiments. So integrated plant nutrient management system. So use of both organic and inorganic, because organic gives balance to the soil in maintaining the fertility. Then potential ability of nutrients, all those things, and of course, use of those agricultural waste that we are generating. So how waste we can go for composting, all those techniques, so that we improve the use of those agricultural waste for managing the soils. Then site-specific nutrient management, very important. It's coming precision agriculture, right amount, right time, improving the resource use efficiency, water, nutrient, energy, all those things coming. And biofortification, Gulati ji mentioned biofortification, agronomy and genetic. So that we are going to listen from him probably. Then now, recently, what are those more innovative way of maintaining those biochar? Because Raghavendran ji here, so he may talk about details about that biochar application, how it is enhancing soil structure, retains nutrients, and sequester more carbon in the soil. Then microbial inoculants. So introduce beneficial microbes to boost agriculture, because we have All India Network Project and biofertilizers. So we are also in that direction, boosting and increasing the production of biofertilizer in the country, because they play important role. May substitute some extent the inorganic fertilizers. Then precision agriculture that I mentioned, how to use that, and the novel fertilizer technology, nano-based formulation, nanotechnology, how we can have fertilizers, how they can be a good use of maybe for micronutrients, maybe for primary nutrients. Then remote sensing, all those approaches. Then core subject, as I mentioned, organic matter, biodiversity, improve nutrient use efficiency, soil resistance, all those things. This core areas, conventional way, we are maintaining that soil health, and we have to continue that. Then one important aspect, I deliberately put this one actually, because if you know, in 2000, One Health mission of the Government of India, because I was part of that principal scientific advisor, I was there for 3 years. So I want to emphasize that also, how soil health is important to One Health mission, though it is now not part of that. It's supposed to be, but it could not be because there are certain reasons. But as I want to show this definition, what actually been described there in the PSA website. One Health is a collaborative, multidisciplinary approach that unites human, animal, and environmental health sector. It recognizes the interconnectedness of these domains, aiming to optimize health outcomes and address challenges across sectors. When I talked about so many things about how soil health is related to human health, and when you talk about One Health mission of Government of India, it is necessary that the soil health should be part of that mission, because as I mentioned, soil is the source of many micronutrients, antibiotics, cancerous drugs, all those things we get from soils. Then only animal health has been considered in the One Health mission, and ICAR plays an important role. However, while preparing the vaccines or antibiotics, one of the pillars of One Health mission, inclusion of soil health is equally important for the mission, as most of the antibiotic and cancer drugs originate from soil. So this is actually the message I want to put across actually for you. So that's why actually soil to plant health, need of the One Health approach. That's, if you see the right corner, that is there actually. Soil health, plant health, animal health, human health, environmental, planet health. So they are all linked. So we cannot skip one of them in between. So soil is the origin of life. If you say in one term, then probably how it is related to environmental health, you can see that. So I don't want to go in more soil biodiversity, how enabler of plant health, human health, animal health, environment, I have mentioned in many ways. So different government schemes are there, how they help it. So I want to show that actually how our sustainable goals and natural solutions, how it is working, and what are those initiatives of Government of India, how Government of India is taking care of soil health. So I want to show that. So I have talked enough, so I don't want to spend more time on this. I just wanted to go through. So this is maybe some kind of recommendation, adopt a soil health first approach for agriculture policy, which is very important. Implement land degradation neutral targets, because that's also another important area. strengthen global research and knowledge sharing, because we have to, knowledge sharing is equally important, that what other people are thinking about are doing it. Then integrate soil health into nutritional health policies, promote micronutrient enriched biofortification, all those things, and monitoring early warning system, so you can easily see that soil is degrading. So I don't want to give that also global partners what we want to do. So at the end, I want to conclude in this: healthy soil, healthy food, and healthy people. This is what actually I wanted to convey the message. I want to convey the message. Rather, investing in soil health is cost effective for long-term food and nutrition security of the country. Call to action: what scale up soil restoration and conservation globally? Then keep soil alive, protect soil biodiversity for our food and the future. Thank you very much. Thank you for ICRIER for giving me the opportunity. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty. It's very useful linking up on the soil health with the crop health and then ultimately the human health. ICRIER presentation by Ritika and Dr. Sahu later will give more details how our soils have deteriorated, especially in terms of soil organic carbon over the last 50 years, what is happening to P and K, the macronutrients, and also micronutrients deficiency that you talked about, zinc in particular. And here is the zinc man of India who actually got wheat and rice enriched with zinc. This is a different. I just want to flag one issue, that this human nutrition is a very complex thing. It is not dependent just on food. In fact, the earlier studies that we did at ICRIER, we have the scholars here looked at the household data sets, especially for the children. Women education was a very critical factor in determining the nutrition of the children. And then access to sanitation, proper sanitation. If you have good food, but you don't have safe drinking water, nothing will get digested. So it goes beyond just the food. But in this particular roundtable, we are thinking of focusing on soil and the food, how the nutrition is transmitted, or are there other ways of fortifying food itself? So if soil we are not able to improve, can we put zinc into the seed? So that's what Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra, he has been responsible and very innovative things that he has done in ICAR. I wish he had 1 hour to speak, but look forward to how you have
I close
fortified
it?
the crops. Yes,
I
please.
can close it.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor Gulati. Very good morning to each one of you. Colleagues on the dais, including Professor Gulati, Dr. Mohanty, Dr. Sanjeev, Sri Ramji, and all the learned delegates here who are present in this hall. I remember once coming to this hall immediately after having a 6 million ton jump in pulse production. So in 1 year, so there was a discussion here that how India could achieve in 1 year 6 million tons increase in pulses production. And after 6 years, we are still maintaining 6 to 8 million tons more than what we had before 2016, 2016-17. And still we are importing 2 to 3 million tons, and which I strongly believe in 1 year, we can even double that. I mean, we can have another 4 million tons of pulses production. So why we are importing and how we can do that, they're all very simple mathematics. And it does work, and it did work. And because we are talking of nutrition, and pulses an important component of nutrition. And so I'll not go into that. But anyway, so this hall, we had the discussion on that how we could do that. Today, Dr. Gulati has chosen an important topic. He has been discussing, publishing, and bringing to every one of us many new ideas and having policy prescriptions for the government to adopt and implement. And I'm sure, and many of them are already implemented. I strongly believe that the kind of enthusiasm he has in picking off topics, and with the criticality that he keeps analyzing those issues, and this should be no exception. And certainly, every one of us should be reading those and getting those lessons, subsequently. So thanks, Professor Gulati, for inviting me to be part of this deliberation, and also emphasizing that how we can actually move in the direction of improving human nutrition. That is the ultimate. And as he highlighted, that we have enough to eat. So we are feeding 1.44 billion plus people, and giving free food more than 80 crore people. And that is something which is remarkable. We couldn't think about it, 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago. So today, we are giving free food to 80 crore people, and also animal population. It's not again a small population. They are also feeding on this, and we are exporting and earning more than $50 billion annually. And after feeding this huge population, certainly this is a very satisfying development. But certainly, what is worrying, as he rightly pointed out, is the kind of malnutrition that is so all-pervading. And India stands precariously, when we compare very small countries, our neighbors, having a better performance than, India. Global Hunger Index, although we find some deficiencies there, and keep writing about it. And when I was president of the National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, so we had a deliberation, and we brought out one small document highlighting some deficiencies in how Global Hunger Index is actually estimated. But never mind, with the same yardstick, every country is compared. Whether it is stunting or wasting or whatever Dr. Gulati did point out. So overall malnutrition and anemia and so on and so forth. So same parameters are used everywhere. And our Global Hunger Index is 28, around that, and the global average is around 18. So obviously, that speaks volumes about in the situation where we are in, and how do we really move from here. And we certainly would like to, every one of us being responsible Indians, who would like to do that. Time is limiting. I don't want to really give a long lecture, though there are so much to speak about. But certainly, how do we really address this? As he said rightly, that 35.5% of children below the age of 5 being stunted, and about 19% being wasted, and women more than 50% being anemic, and so on and so forth. And if you go to details of that, and our own National Family Health Survey, in fact, has revealed this. National Family Health Survey 5 particularly. So a lot of details are there. Anybody interested can go to the website, and details are there in the internet, and you can dive deeper into it. But certainly, our situation is not good. And as Dr. Mohanty said, that obviously it starts, although initially One Health was thought about an issue pertaining to animal and human, because 60% of human diseases come from animals, and there are also human diseases which go to animals. So from animals to human and human to animals. So these are called zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases. So 60% of those animal diseases that come to human. So obviously in that context, it was thought that probably we should be thinking holistically, taking animal and human together, because unless we address animal health, we'll not be able to address at any point in time human health, because animal and human, they stay together, and pet animals are all around the world everywhere. So and commercial animal farming takes place elsewhere. So obviously you can't isolate animal health from human health. So that was the kind of issue. But subsequently, again, as the president of National Academy of Agricultural Science said, discussed this issue and expanded this One Health program to include soil, because that is where all problem starts. And as Dr. Mohanty has already pointed out, that soils, if they are deficient, so it will go to plants and to grains, and from plant and grain to animal, and from animal to human, where you have largely the meat-eating population. So obviously those deficiencies go there, and also plant food dependent population also would be getting those deficiencies. So after all, we depend on food for nutrition. And ultimately, food should determine our health and nutrition. And the ultimate determinant of that should not be how much medicine we take, but how quality food we consume. So soil has to be taken care, and that he has elaborately pointed out. And there are many policy issues there. And he has rightly pointed out that including soil in the One Health program, this is an important requirement, and that should be one of the recommendations. And we can't just leave the soil management. Anyway, that could be a different program on soil management altogether, that soil health management. There has been some programs in the past. Fertilizer use. I talked about site-specific, and today, given the kind of technology we have, the AI-driven technologies, and there we should be able to apply real-time basis in a site-specific manner the exact amount of nutrient plant requires. And if we can do that and promote that technology intervention, throughout the country, obviously we should be able to save on the fertilizer that we use. And more importantly, have lesser pollution of the environment, so environmental health can be also restored. And so that is yet another aspect. And today, our fertilizer use is so grossly unbalanced. So NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, 11 to 12 ratio should be 4:2:1, and today our ratio is about 12 is to 4.5:1. So that's the kind of ratio that you see. So huge amount of nitrogenous fertilizer we are pumping in, and phosphorus also quite high, rather little high in terms of proportion, and potash again low. So this unbalanced use of fertilizer, eastern states and southern states are doing better, and northern and northwestern part again is quite off the target. And so this is another area that to address soil health issue. And the microbial component. Unless he said soil is a living system, and I'm repeating this because these are all so important and requiring policy intervention. I'm sure Professor Gulati has been talking about it, and this needs to really go into, because the subsidy with regard to urea and promotion of that, how badly it is impacting the fertilizer use, unbalanced use of fertilizer, and impacting soil health in return. And then subsequently, all other disturbances. Once the soil health is impacted, so obviously plant health would be impacted, animal health would be impacted, and human health would be impacted. So that is the continuum, and that's what he highlighted, and that's what I would like to repeat and emphasize, that how we can do through policy intervention and through appropriate measures, we can bring this, and also technology intervention, because given the technology that we have and appropriate policy to support the technology. So unless we go for large-scale deployment of such new technologies, including drone-based applications, all applications, and then imaging-based applications, sensor-based applications, so we'll not be able to save on fertilizers, and balanced use of fertilizer is a far cry, would remain a far cry. And this is what is very, very important. And microbial component of the soil is so important. I can tell you in 60s, we introduced rhizobium to inoculate pulses. And there we improve soil health. The pulse nitrogen requirement is also met by way of nitrogen fixation. Atmosphere has plenty of nitrogen. It gets fixed and soil property improves, and so on and so forth. And we have very good technology, but less than 10% of seeds in case of pulses are inoculated with rhizobium, the bacteria which fixes the nitrogen symbiotically along with the pulses. So this is the situation. If we push just one thing, or our soils are deficient in, as he pointed out, in zinc and boron, and some places sulfur and iron, these 4 important nutrients. And you need policy intervention, you need support system, and all subsidy system linked to application of all these. And we would grossly improve our productivity. We always compare that, we cry that our productivity is low. Let it be low. Let us not, produce too much also. And we'll have serious problems if we produce too much, I must tell you. Productivity should increase, area should reduce. And if we can reduce area and divert area for some other purpose, that would be most useful thing and important thing to do in this country. And probably it's another aspect, I'll not go into that. But coming back to the issue, that when we realized this, that we did focus on increasing yield, as Dr. Gulati pointed out. And when I joined the Indian Council of Agriculture Research as Director General, I thought probably, we have missed out on the crop nutrition, biofortifying crops with nutrients. Because the hidden hunger, what Professor Swaminathan used to talk about those days, that he was talking about micronutrient deficiencies in a human and protein malnutrition. You say there is anemia. Why anemia? It's not just iron alone. Iron deficiency and also protein deficiency. It's because hemoglobin is protein plus iron. So you need to address both. And so the hidden hunger, that is malnutrition deficiency and protein deficiencies in Indian population, are contributing to this huge burden. And as Professor Gulati said, if children are stunted and wasted, what about future? What is the bright future that we always talk about? We have a huge population. There will be 1-2% of the population brilliant coming out and leading the country and giving new technology, innovation, perfectly all right. But that will be a huge burden. So because of wasting and stunting. So we need to really address this. And how do we address? One, supplementation of the food. So you can fortify the food with the iron and with the zinc and with the other, kind of thing. So one can, iodine fortification of salt, so all this can be done. But the food itself, if it is genetically done with enriched for micronutrient, that is what we plan for. And then you consume food, your requirements are fulfilled. Don't have to really take, extra outside source, need not be really utilized. And a whole lot of system need to be involved. If you want to fortify rice with iron, you have to have a whole industry on this. And you need to also spend money on that. And the government has to subsidize and supply that. The supply system also has to be in place. But if you have rice biofortified with zinc or iron, so obviously you don't need, or wheat biofortified with zinc and iron, you don't have to really have a whole industry working on fortification process itself. And at times there are difficulties there. I will not go into that. So we worked on this aspect. Of course, it is linked to soil fertility, mind you. If soils are deficient, even if you have a highly efficient genotype, it may not be able to mine the nutrient. It does mine. It does mine the soils. And that's the reason why mining again leads to deficiency in soils. Continuously, if you go on mining soils, so they will be denuded. So obviously, soil should be now more than 15 nutrients everywhere, here and there you go. He pointed out some nutrients, more than 15 nutrients deficient. And so how do you expect that productivity would be more? The carbon deficiency, carbon itself is so important. And Dr. Gulati mentioned, there will be more mention about Sri Ram Saab about it. So I'm sure we'll be learning holistically how to really address this issue. But certainly, if plants are not efficient in taking up nutrients or utilizing them, transporting them to the tissues where they are to be deposited for consumption. So obviously, whatever amount is in soil, it is of no use. So your seed has to be made efficient and designed that way so that it is able to utilize whatever is available in the soil. And that is what we planned for. And when I joined, so we had about 2-3 varieties which were biofortified. And then with a greater focus, by the time I left in 2022, there are more than 75 varieties which were biofortified, and sent the document to Professor Gulati that time. And I, in fact, brought out a nice piece in the newspaper, talking about biofortification, all aspects, and very critically analyzing, in fact, also guiding us what needs to be really done more. And also in terms of policy dimension, what needs to be really done. I'll cite a few examples. First thing we did, that we were promoting millets. International Year of Millet was there. National Year of Millet we celebrated in 2018, and 2023 was International Year of Millet. But millets are also not very rich in certain micronutrients, I must tell you. So we focused on that how millets can also be improved further. And in case of bajra, the pearl millet, which is very planet positive kind of crop, requires very little water and also grows in high temperature of the Rajasthan desert area. So obviously it has many positives and also high fiber. So all that is there. But then we made a policy that no variety will be released in case of pearl millet if it doesn't satisfy minimum requirement of iron and zinc. 42 ppm of iron and 32 ppm of zinc. That is the bare minimum zinc and iron content. If it is not there in any variety, it would not be released at all. It would not go for production and consumption, that cycle. So that is a important, that's a globally, fast country, and India is the first country to take this decision and implement it. And subsequently, and that was almost 5 years ago, and subsequently all varieties are now, in case of pearl millet, they have this, more than 42 ppm iron and 32 ppm zinc. The rice and wheat, less than 15-20 ppm, say, zinc. Iron is very low. Polished rice, not even 10 ppm, less than 10 ppm, 5, 6, 7 ppm, not more than that, iron. So very little, all is lost. So by polishing, everything is gone. It is there in alluring layer, and when you polish it, the rice, it is all gone. A little zinc and little iron is left. So we worked on that. And when I was the director of National Rice Research Institute, so there was a variety, and that's a local rice variety. Mind you, that how important, we have 4.5 lakh germplasm, which is there in Gene Bank of National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources. And many of them are farmers' varieties. And we had one collection of Assam rice collection, ARC 10075, very specifically. And this had protein to the tune of 16%. 16% protein. Rice usually around 7% protein. And imagine that you apply all fertilizer, 120 kg nitrogen, because what is protein? Protein is carbohydrate plus nitrogen, amino acids. Amino acids is carbohydrate a chain, there is a nitrogen attached to this, so a amide group, so you have protein. And if you don't have nitrogen deficiency, so obviously there will be protein deficiency. But even if you apply sufficient nitrogen, plants don't give you more than 7% protein because the efficiency is not there. But there is one local variety which goes up to 16% of protein in the grains. Can you imagine? And identifying that, first of all, is not a small job. And then transferring that trait to a popular variety, which is Navin and subsequently Swarna, and making it 10%. We could not recover 15% or 15 to 20, 16%. We could not recover because there are a lot of background difficulties. It's not so easy to have a gene transferred and planted there as you do in transgenic. They are not transgenic. They're all normal conventional breeding process and selection schemes. So we got varieties, Siardhan 310, Siardhan 311, and they are all having more than 10% protein after policing. And one person sitting in the US noticed this. And he said, why don't you give me this? I will commercialize. And of course, he's from Andhra Pradesh. He came back and did something. But then he went back to US and certainly he could not continue that. But he sold that as a doctor rice for some time. Did a business, made doctor rice. So high protein. So protein malnutrition in rice eaters is a serious issue. And those who don't have purchasing power, they are not consuming meat. They are largely vegetarian. So obviously you need to really biofortify the staple food crops. And this is one example. And similarly, zinc biofortification has happened in case of rice. And that is DRR Dhan 45. There's another variety from Directorate of Rice Research, Hyderabad, which has 22 ppm, 23 ppm, zinc. And similarly, in case of wheat, mind you, wheat biofortification, not only it happened, it has also been taken to the field. More than 10 million hectares now is occupied by biofortified wheat, which is enriched for zinc. So this is what is actually more than 10 million hectares, wheat itself occupying the wheat area out of 30 million hectare. So 1/3 area almost is occupied by biofortified wheat, enriched for zinc. And today, in 2023, by 2023 July, after 1 year of my living ICR, so we could reach about 114 biofortified crops, and now we have more than 150 biofortified crops, close to 160 biofortified crops in different varieties in different crops. So issue is that having high yielding biofortified crop varieties which can be cultivated just like any other variety, that is the ultimate objective. Sometimes issue is raised that, okay, if you increase protein content and iron content and zinc content, what happens to the yield? In certain cases, of course, yield is not really very high, but we have seen those varieties, say in case of wheat, the yield is also at par. So we have not compromised with yield while doing selection for these traits. Though in certain varieties, the yield is not at par. So we need to really breed varieties, develop varieties which are at par, but that's not really all. That how do you take it to large-scale consumption? people don't really know what is biofortified and what is not. The food labeling doesn't happen. And nobody says that it is, because in the mandi, everything is mixed. Higher zinc rice is not really differentiated from the normal rice. Everything is mixed. There is no policy that can be segregated in mandis. Neither any policy with regard to the seed production system, that there is segregation. Neither there is any policy for better pricing of biofortified crops. Why there would be incentives for growing biofortified crops, and particularly in those cases where yield penalty is there. So that unless we address that, probably we'll not be able to really promote them. And more importantly, the bioavailability of all these nutrients that we have created. So that requires elaborate investment and studies. And there has to be really partnership, because it has to start from soil till the crop is matured and harvested. So it requires engagement of everybody, because today you apply fertilizer to the soil, say nitrogenous fertilizer, urea, 30-35% is used, and maximum excellent utilization regime maybe 40 to 50%, but largely 60 to 70% is lost. So what way it is going to benefit and biofortify the crops? Agronomic fortification would work to the extent that the soils are deficient. And if soils are deficient, so obviously you have to add on these fertilizers. But in what format? Certainly Sanjeev ji would be talking about it. And if you have liquid format, you can spray it, and how you save on fertilizer, save on environmental degradation and all that, and then contribute to addressing the agronomic deficiencies. And if they are addressed, then comes the role of genetics, that how best the crop can take it and then utilize it. So in a holistic manner, we have to address this issue and bring in more number of biofortified crops, in addition to the technology with regard to addressing soil health issues. And unless we do this, we will not be able to address the human nutrition. Of course, this food is only a small component of human nutrition. As Professor Gulati said, there are other aspects, but today we are talking about the food, and food comes unless soil is there. So you can have, see, I must tell you that we promoted Nutri-Gardens. You can have soil-less cultures. You can have rooftop gardens without soil also you can have. And, and you can have your terrace and your balconies having a small Nutri-Garden. And we very nicely designed that. And those days, Madam Smriti Irani was there in Women and Child Development Department. And we had a lot of discussion that how do we promote these Nutri-Gardens and small kitchen gardens. And the family is self-sufficient. Even if they don't have a land and they are in multi-story buildings, they can use their balconies to have at least a small some component of nutrition, family nutrition is met. And season-wise, having crops identified, the vegetables particularly, and then providing the right kind of nutrition. So food diversification, in addition to biofortification, is another important area. How do we do through Nutri-Garden and promoting Nutri-Garden? This is yet another area of deliberation that all of us can adopt this in our own respective residential areas and then address this issue. And there, your hydroponics systems, vertical gardens, and all those would come into play. I'll not go into those details. So today, I believe that, thanks to Dr. Gulati for having this discussion, and we have really crossed all time limits. It's already 11 o'clock. We were supposed to finish at 10:40, so we are 20 minutes late. So thank you very much and for giving this opportunity. And I'm sure there will be many fruitful things coming out of this deliberation and helping us to move forward to address malnutrition in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You have really biofortified the discussion. That's what I was looking forward to. This is very critical how science can help us meet many of the deficiencies, but you also highlighted hugely imbalanced use of fertilizers, which is causing a lot of problem today. I won't take much time on this question because we have a lot of industry people here, and Ritika and Dr. Sahu will make a quick presentation and link this entire fertilizer issue with the nutrition question. We'll have to save a little time, so you have to move a little faster. And then we come to the real product solution, what Sanjeev is to give us. No, you are finding a solution. Culprit is the policy, which has subsidized urea like anything. So there is a policy issue, there is a product issue, and there are practices that the farmers following. Yeah, quick.
Hi, good morning to all. My name is Ritika Juneja. I'm a research fellow at ICRIAR. I'm working with Dr. Gulati, Dr. Nand, Dr. Reena, and Viswabara on soil. Today's presentation is on improving soil health for better crop and human nutrition. In this presentation, I'll cover why soil matters, status of Indian soils, impact of fertilizer policy, practices and products, changes in crop nutrition, linkage between soil health, crop health, and human health nutrition, then the way forward. Why soil matters. 95% of food we consume relies directly or indirectly on soil. That is, healthy soil means healthy food production. Because if it is not in soil, it will not be in crops. And if it is not in crops, it will not be in the food we consume. Soil also holds diverse organisms that transform raw materials into form that plants can absorb. It cushions the plant roots against extreme weather conditions. And it is the largest carbon sink after ocean. This slide shows the status of Indian soils. As per Soil Health Card data 2024, of more than 88 lakh samples tested, 70% are deficient in nitrogen, 15% in phosphorus, 11% in potassium, 53.5% in organic carbon, 27% roughly on sulfur, 25% in iron, 36% in zinc, 41.5% in boron. These are essential micronutrients responsible for soil's health. Now, nitrogen deficiency across state is widespread in Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, etc. One of the key parameters responsible for low and deficient nitrogen level is soil organic carbon. Low carbon in soils make it unable to hold nitrogen, which is not taken up by the plants. And ultimately, it escapes into the environment in the form of nitrous oxide and nitrate. As per the report by National Rainfed Area Authority, soil organic carbon has reduced from 1% to 0.3% over a span of 70 years. There is often debate about what are the critical limits for soil organic carbons. Food Prize laureate like Latan Lal says that it should be between 1.5% to 2%. Also, this aligns with what Sadhguru, a spiritual leader, who is also the founder of Soil Safe Soil movement, that it should be between 1.7 to 2.3%. But our soil health card data shows that anything above 0.75% is sufficient or even high. That means we do not have a collective opinion about the critical limits of soil organic carbon in India. In case of phosphorus and potassium, its accessibility also depends on the plant's health as well as soil's health, because these nutrients are limited and they get fixed in the soil in insoluble form. Now, this slide shows the micronutrient status in India. Zinc, which is critical for crop yield, protein synthesis, plants' immunity, is deficient across states like Rajasthan, Karnataka. Experts even say that zinc deficiency can alone lead to 5 to 30% yield losses in crops like wheat, rice, maize, pulses. Iron, which is critical for plants' growth, crop yield, as well as quality, is deficient in states like Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Odisha, Bihar. Boron, which impacts crop yields, plants' growth, food and seed development, is deficient in Rajasthan, Odisha, Bihar, Assam. Now, these are the important micronutrients responsible for physiological processes in plants. Some of the major causes of deteriorating soil health are listed here. Of these, some are geogenic, which we cannot control, and some are anthropogenic, which we can tackle with some better soil management practices. Most concerning of these remain the fertilizer subsidy policy. Now, this policy was introduced in 1970s following the oil crisis. At that time, need of the hour was low input, low output prices to support farmers and consumers. At that time, India had more than 60% people living under poverty. Food security was first and foremost concern to avoid starvation deaths. Green revolution was still unfolding, so farmers were required to be incentivized to produce more. However, now the backdrop has completely changed. We are no more in short of basic staples like cereals. Rather, during the last 5 years, we have exported 126 million metric tons of cereals. On poverty front, our extreme poverty has come down to 2.3% in 2022, according to World Bank. Even the Niti Aayog's multidimensional poverty index says it is at 11.3%. On the top of this, our government is giving free wheat or rice to more than 800 million people. Now, this questions the rationale of continuing fertilizer policy. This slide is very important. There we shows the cause of concern. On the left-hand side, you can see production, import, and sale figures of fertilizers. In 23-24, almost 65 million tons fertilizers were sold. However, the production figure 50.5 is not conveying the true picture, because in case of urea, majority, that is around 80 to 85% of gas, which is used as a raw material, is imported. In case of phosphatic fertilizers, almost 90 to 95% gets imported in the form of rock and acid. In case of potassium, everything is getting imported in the form of finished product. Now, this shows our import dependence in case of fertilizers. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see the fertilizer pricing policy. The red line, as you can see, is flat. That means consistently there is stagnancy in urea prices throughout since 1970s. After the introduction of nutrient-based subsidy scheme in 2010, potassium and phosphorus fertilizers were controlled. Subsidy there got fixed at about 44% in case of phosphorus and 5% in potassium, and retail prices were deregulated. However, urea was kept outside the scheme and its prices remained controlled. This only covers 15 to 20% of cost of production. That means urea is subsidized to the tune of 85% in India. This not only leads to excessive use, causing environmental damage, because plants cannot absorb more than 35 to 40%. Rest, it goes into the environment, causing greenhouse gas emissions and even contamination. There is also a diversion of fertilizers because of the distorted price structure for other non-agriculture purposes, maybe in plywood or glass industry. Economic survey even pointed out that 20 to 30% of urea fertilizers are diverted for other purposes than agriculture. Now, overutilization of fertilizer is even reflected in across states. As you can see, this graph, it shows state-wise fertilizer consumption per hectare of net sown area in 23-24. Major rice-producing states, Haryana and Punjab, have such higher fertilizer consumption per hectare to the tune of 477 kgs per hectare. Haryana, 400 kgs per hectare. Yes, net sown area. Now, this imbalance is even reflected in the ratio in which fertilizers are used. As we can see in case of Punjab, Haryana, we are over applying than what is recommended. 61% excess nitrogen is applied in case of Punjab, while potassium, almost 90% isn't deficient. We are applying less potassium than what is recommended. Similarly, you can see across states, potassium is applied in deficient amount compared to what is recommended. Now, because of the distorted price structure, there is overutilization of urea, there is imbalanced use of urea, which is impacting the crop's health. Crop response ratio has come down from 13.4 in 1970 to 2.2 in 2015. Even nitrogen use efficiency has come down from almost 49% in 1961 to 41% now. This doesn't stop here. This is leading to major burden on the exchequer because the subsidy bill is shooting, as you can see the mounted graph. In 24-25, subsidy bill was 1.83 lakh crores. In 2025-26, it is budgeted at 1.56 lakh crores. It is surprising to note that this is even bigger than the Ministry of Agriculture budget. And if we add animal husbandry, even climate and Ministry of Environment's budget in this, it will be still less than the fertilizer subsidy bill. This shows the quantum and the effect of fertilizer subsidy in our policy making. What impact it is causing to the crops and human health? Over application of N fertilizer leads to accumulation of nitrate in leafy vegetables, which when goes beyond the permissible limits affects human health and even can be life-threatening. Nitrogen is also getting accumulated in water bodies. According to WHO, 359 districts were contaminated with nitrate in 2017, and the number increased to 440 in 2023, leading to various harmful diseases like baby blue syndrome, thyroid conditions, etc. Now, this was impact of overutilization of N. Then what is the impact of P and K deficiency in soils? It leads to weak root system, delays flower and seed development, reduces plants' immunity against diseases and stress, and also leads to shriveled grain. What impact micronutrient deficiency is having on the grains? As we see in this slide, over a period from 1960s to 2010, grain, zinc, and iron content in rice and wheat have dramatically reduced by 20 to 30%. And this we can see across varieties of rice and wheat. Now, this slide shows that in countries where we have soil zinc deficiency, there is also deficiency in human zinc content in human diets. As we can see, the stunting levels are quite high across countries like India. In India, 36% soils are deficient in zinc, and among preschool and school-going children, 16% are deficient in zinc, which are leading to even stunting. 31% zinc deficiency is there among adolescents. Morton et al. Even said that there is a strong correlation between soil zinc deficiency, crop zinc deficiency, and zinc deficiency in humans. One standard deviation increase in sufficient soil samples can lead to 11 fewer children stunted per 1,000. All of this could have been avoided if we would have a balanced application of fertilizers, which is caused by distorted price structure of N, P, and K. Now, what we can do to control this damage? How can we reorient our fertilizer policy to ensure higher productivity and sustainability? One way is to either put quantitative restriction on nitrogen fertilizers, that means ration the number of bags per household, the way it is done for LPG, subsidized LPG gas cylinders, or we deregulate the system and compensate the farmers through direct benefit transfer. Now, this can be done on per hectare basis of gross cropped area, maybe twice in a year, both before Kharif and Rabi, or can be merged or top up with PM Kisan. This way, farmers will get the flexibility and choice to decide whether they want to go with natural farming, chemical fertilizers, or use biofertilizers, nanofertilizers, biochar, etc. This will help to control environmental damage and also stop the leakages to some extent. However, this is going to be a major exercise. To reform prices, political economy needs to be fully taken care of and farmer needs to be convinced. Most important challenge in this exercise was going to be identifying the tenants. Niti Aayog says that tenancy in India is somewhere between 35 to 40%. Now, this requires major triangulation of data from different sources like PM Kisan, land records, Kisan credit card, fertilizer sales, soil health card data, space technology, using artificial intelligence and machine learning. Even an open portal needs to be opened up by the government so that farmers can register themselves and we can have traceability. For this, the farmer needs to be fully on board and they need to be made ensured that in case input cost goes beyond the subsidy amount, this must be covered with the MSP of various crops. This change in policy is going to take 2 to 3 years to stabilize and settle, with some correction and of loopholes that will come on the way. Another technological intervention, as Mahapatra sir also highlighted, is the biofortification of crops, breeding micronutrients into crops. Prime Minister Modi introduced 109 biofortified varieties for use in case of field and horticulture crops. Of these, 23 were for cereals, 9 were zinc and iron-rich rice varieties, 2 were zinc and protein-rich wheat varieties. Harvest Plus, which is also part of CGIAR system, globally is introducing many biofortified varieties across countries. Now, this is the step in right direction, but we need to follow it with the mission mode approach to make it successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika and Dr. Sahu. It's a joint presentation under the guidance of Dr. Nand and whatever little I could contribute.
Sir,
Making
sir,
a strong.
sir, I would like to request Nand sir if he wants to add something if I've missed.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
So you have made a strong pitch for reforming the fertilizer subsidy to create a balanced structure in the use of NPK and highlighted that the budget of fertilizer subsidy, which is sitting with the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, is bigger than the budget of Ministry of Agriculture. So my first submission is that the Minister of Agriculture needs to, plead for either combining the two ministries or transferring that money because this is for the farmer. And Ministry of Chemical found a different way, only looking at the fertilizer industry and not reaching all the way to the farmer. It's a big challenge, but if we can do this right, then number of problems of soil health and overuse. I don't know how many people here have diabetes or thyroid, and it's all because of overuse of N and consuming Punjab's wheat and rice, which is overusing this. We never realize that. So many of these problems can be sorted out. If you give 80-85% subsidy on urea, then no matter what you preach to the farmer in terms of practices, is overusing that. Now, how to correct that overuse and not depend as much on the fertilizer subsidy? We have the champion of the industry, Mr. Sanjeev Kanwar. I was impressed when I came to know how customized fertilizers and how precision agriculture can hopefully give us a solution. So we invited Sanjeev. You can talk about the industry as a whole or your experiment in particular, whichever the way you want. And then we bring non-fertilizer man on the table to correct the situation. Thank you.
Actually, good morning. Still good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I would like to mention that I'm the most or the least educated of this panel. Each one of these guys is a PhD. They spent, I think I spent 4 times the time on a playground. Then these guys have spent time studying and becoming the great people they have. But anyway, I'll have a crack at it. So it's a very interesting topic.
That's why he's still running a marathon. As they say.
Yeah, so it is a very important topic, soil health, and how it is connected to India's food as well as nutritional security. That's extremely important for us as we go forward. And as we all know, the quality of the Indian soil has been deteriorating over the past so many years. The photograph that you see is from my days when I was extremely young, when I started my career about 39 years back at Vedrino Golf. It was very common to go into the field and see earthworms hote hain, you know, घूम रहे हैं वहां पे. It was very common to see. Now, the new generation of agriculture specialists who are going into the market, they don't see earthworms. They're gone. We have successfully killed them. And why that has happened? Because there has been continuous mining of secondary and micronutrients over the past so many years. Over the past 50 years, we've been dumping in a lot of fertilizers, excessive use of fertilizers. I would not say that we should not use fertilizers, not because I'm from the industry, but because we need all kinds of fertilizers, be it chemical, be it mineral, be it biostimulants, be it organic. You need all kinds of fertilizers to protect your soil. But I think the soil has really got degraded. And then also, let's not forget an extremely inefficient use of water. The way flood irrigation is used, even in times when 54% of India, frankly, is under the water scarcity zone. There's a study which is out there. I would encourage all of you guys to look at it. Some parts of India are having less water than the Middle East, and that is a scary thought. You go to Punjab, water is now down to 150, 200, 300, 400 feet, and Punjab is named after the land of 5 rivers. So something is seriously wrong the way we are using our natural resources. This soil, I met Dr. Gulati, I think about 3 years back, when he's managed to spare 24 hours of his life and spent some time with us in Babrala. And when I met him, the first thing he asked me was, "तुसी soil test करते हो?" I hope you guys understand Punjabi. "तुसी soil test करते हो? Organic carbon दा की हाल है?" Then when my colleague was preparing, मैं और सब मत डालना, organic carbon डाल देना इसके अंदर. So you can see organic carbon is 85% efficient. So at least Dr. Gulati will not challenge me this time. Ki organic carbon da ki haal hai, the answer is there, but it's scary stuff. You have more red bars than green bars. I won't go into the details, but almost every nutrient, every element of your soil is in the red zone. It is in the red zone, which is scary. And the yield efficiency, the nutrient use efficiency has dropped by almost 50% in the last 5 decades. When we started in 1960, we were producing 1 kg of NPK was giving us 12 kgs of grain. Now it's down to 5, and I was told recently that it's down to 3.2, even less than that. So it's 2.2, which is, I mean, what are we guys doing here? I mean, this is scary stuff. And if this does not shake up, then I think this should. You're going to be around 1.7 billion people. We still say we are 1.4 billion people. Couple of my colleagues went to the Kumbh in Allahabad, and they came back. Ki boss, hum 1.5 billion to already hai. I said, why? Because itne log hai. They were very clear कि 1.5 billion तो है. तो I challenge this my own data. So if we're going to be 1.8 billion maybe by 2050, how are you going to feed these people? Indians ही हैं ये. How are we going to feed them? When today, if you look at the fertilizer subsidy bill, you said the right number, 1.85, 1.2 billion, 185 crore. इतने सारे zero उसके अंदर. So that is there. If you put it in the right perspective, that's close to 40 to 45 days of a GST collections in India. So where is the money going to come from for defense? You all say 2.5 front war hogi, or ho rahi hai. We've seen this 4 days of war condensed into a skirmish. It is happening. Chinese weapons were used against India. It's happening. So where is the money going to come for to defend your borders? And if you don't defend the borders, the soil to chhod do na, phir usko to chhod dena chahiye. So this is a serious challenge. How are you going to feed yourself? And then the crisis of malnutrition is real. Whether we like it or not, 20% of India's population is malnourished. Dum nahi hai in there. You talk about marathon. I grew up in Shimla and grew up in the good times when the soils were healthier. And that still stays with me. I ran a 10-kilometer run, Airtel Marathon, at the age of 58. And I was in the first 200 people. On one side, I felt very happy about it. On the other side, that कि मेरे से 50% of age वाले लोग 1 घंटे बाद खत्म कर रहे हैं. Something is wrong with this place. So it's because not that they are not eating well, it's just that they don't have the right nutritious food. It is missing. When I go into the villages, because that's what I love doing, I do play a guessing game. कि बच्चे की उम्र क्या है? How old is this kid? And I always say, this girl looks 9, turns out she's 13. This boy looks 7, turns out he's 11. So that stunted guy, 35% of our population is stunted. We talk about the demographic advantage India has. Is it really going to be an advantage or is it going to be pain to cover them on a back? How are you going to, what's your productivity level? I do this, I've done this many times. I would encourage you guys to, on a Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, go to a shop, go to a mall, engage with the sales people there. Go to the same guy, same person in the evening around 6 o'clock. That guy doesn't want to talk to you. Kyuki usme dam nahi hai. Stamina nahi hai. Just because it's not that he's hungry, it's just that he or she does not have the strength in the food that they are eating. 40% of India's children are deficient in zinc. It's a startling number. And it's going to stay with these guys for the rest of their lives. All my esteemed speakers before me have said, what is not in the soil is not in the crop, and it is not in the food that we are eating. And I think the time now has come. We should seriously think, what are we doing about it? Solutions are available. And fertilizers will play a role. And keep in mind, when I talk about fertilizers, I don't say it only has to be mineral fertilizer. It's all fertilizers. It's mineral, it's biostimulants, it's organic. You bring it in, whatever, and let the farmer decide. हम क्यों decide करते हैं कि तुम यही डालोगे? Let the farmer decide. Whatever works for the farmer, he or she will decide. Whatever works for the consumer, he or she will decide. Starting point is we need to have balanced crop nutrition. I won't touch the policy. That's political. That I leave to you to sort out. So, but we need to have a system, we need to have a policy where the balanced application comes in. We don't see that today. We need to have fertilizers which have a higher nutrient use efficiency. Is urea really efficient? I question, is DAP really efficient? जिसके ऊपर हम पता नहीं कितने करोड़ों रुपए डालते हैं. Is it really efficient? I mean, we also need to look at what kind of potash we are putting into. I mean, we put in potassium chloride, which is fine, but it is also a salt. So are the fertilizers that we're putting in, are they at the right level of salt index? Maybe we need to look at fertilizers which have lower salt index, which will not kill my earthworms, you know. That is what we need to do. And these solutions are available across the world. When I look at the India's food productivity, I say, there are two ways of looking at it. Ki we are bahut piche hain hum. But I look at it, I'm always been an optimistic guy. Always said there's a huge potential to increase productivity. There's a fantastic potential. We are not reaching that potential. We have excellent seeds, but we are not creating that environment in the soil and whatever you're putting in to grow them to reach their yield potential. So if you look at it, we are about 40 to 50% below the global averages. This needs to be fixed with the help of soil and the right kind of nutrition that we put in. So what are we doing in India? I mean, marketing bhi karni zaruri hai. So what we're trying to do is we cannot change the world. We realize that. But we certainly try to change the world for the people we get in touch with. And we are not looking at, I mean, as an Indian, I look at what's the next generation, the kids. So the examples that we're going to give is how we're trying to create value by improving the farm productivity and also improving what the children are eating. So here, first I will talk about silage, the forage part of it. Almost, I think all of us know, about 25% of India's carbon emissions are coming from dairy. 25% of carbon emissions coming from agriculture, and 65% of the total emissions from agriculture are coming from dairy. So that is one area we need to look at, because you're looking at a net zero 2070. So we need to start now. Second part is, if the quality of the forage is good, the quality of the animal health goes up, carbon emissions come down, and the quality of milk goes up. That is important. Who drinks maximum milk? It's our children, the next generation. So we started. So we went out and spoke to a dairy farm, I'm not, due to an ND, I'm not allowed to use the share, but it's a very respected organization in India. We said, okay, let's work with you. Let's figure out how we can help the quality based forage. So we came out with a program which included some of our solutions. I mean, being a marketing guy, I also use my brands, but I will explain. Yaraliva Nitrabur is the boronated calcium. Yaravera is urea, that's been successfully killed, the brand. Yaravita Teprosin, that's a zinc and PDO5 formulation together. It's a formulation. Zintrac is again a suspension zinc. So it's again, we have two sources of zinc, one source of calcium and one source, and the same Nitrabor, that is calcium nitrate with boron. So you have calcium, boron, and nitrate nitrogen in one product. Then we, of course, we have DAP, MOP, and sulfur. But the key difference is that the application rates of Yara crop program that is offered to the farmers is almost about 30% lower in terms of application rate. So that is a good starting point. Labor cost of the farmer also goes up. And when we do the results, so then we see, what we've also seen is that the crop program that we have shared with the farmers is based on what the crop needs to grow, a good quality crop. And benchmarking what the farmer is using. So if you would see, the macronutrient as well as the micronutrient application through the Yara crop program is much more closer to what the crop needs than what the farmer is actually applying. And the yields have gone up because of that. The farmer is getting 19 tons, and through our crop program, you get about 22 tons. And the farmer is making about, for every rupee spent, he's getting 9 rupees back. So it's an economically viable crop program for the farmer. He doesn't have to spend more to get less. He's spending more, but he's also getting a 10x return on that. What is important for us to focus on is that the Yara crop program offered to the farmer is different from what he's generally using, especially when it comes to the nitrogen side. We are more on a nitrogen application. For all of us who are sitting in this room, we know the crop takes the nitrogen only in nitrate form. It's only urea which loves ammonium nitrogen. Everything else is nitrate. So we apply nitrogen at the right time so that it's taken up immediately, and then there's no excessive use. There's no wastage of nitrogen escaping back into the atmosphere. Then we bring in the solutions which the farm is not using, like calcium, boron, as well as zinc. So this helps in improving your farm productivity by almost about 30% and giving a 10x return to the farm. So this is on the silage side. The farmer came back and confirmed, the dairy company has confirmed that the quality of the milk has gone up significantly. And this program is now getting scaled up in one of the northern states in India. There's some of the photographs from there. You can see the visual difference in the root zone. Overall crop health is much more healthier with the Yara offering. Then we worked with Harvest. We're very happy to see the Harvest Plus mentioned there, because it says कि मैं ठीक ही कर रहा हूँ, अगर आप लोग कर रहे हो तो मैं भी कर रहा हूँ, तो फिर तो ठीक ही चल रहा है इसका नाम. So एक तरह से ratification हो गया. Harvest Plus is we found out that Harvest Plus were working with school children to provide midday schools. And they have a unique idea that we will train the farmers whose children are going to get the food to go grow a better quality crop. So we said, इसमें हम बात करते हैं. Let's work together on this. So we ran a trial. Now we are planning to scale it up this year in Eastern UP, which is usually low on the attention rate because productivity is low and so on and so forth. So we went in there. made an intervention. We just added zinc, a zinc phosphate, that's teprosine as a seed treatment. Then we added a foliar application, a Procoat, a zinc Procoat, that is a zinc coating on urea. We did that. And as per the results, you can see on the screen, as a business person, I need to be focused on what the farm is going to gain. The yields went up significantly. More importantly, the farmer gets 8x return on every rupee spent on the Yara crop program. For me and my team and Harvest Plus, it was very important that as per the tests that we did of the crop, the zinc ppm went up, doubled in that wheat. So that means that the kids are in that school are getting a high quality of flour, and they're going to be much more healthy than they were before this intervention. The whole thing we are trying to emphasize here is, if we use a balanced crop nutrient with innovative products, there is a solution available. Now the question is, are we open for that solution? That is the biggest challenge in India. We talk about it, that innovative products आने चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए, वो होना चाहिए, घूम फिर के कुछ नहीं होगा, because when we look at it, the registration process in India is very difficult. So you could, just as Dr. Mahapatra mentioned, fortification of seeds, brilliant idea, it's needed, but that is not going to solve the entire problem. You can also fortify fertilizers with micronutrients, and the micronutrients could be a zinc, could be a boron, could be an iron. Binay, you should be happy I mentioned iron. 2 दिन पहले तुम मेरे को डांट रहे थे सर, iron की बात ही नहीं कर रहा, तो I'm mentioning it. Then I also left a question mark. You can add, believe me when I say it, you can add biostimulant solutions also onto a urea or a DAP or an NPK to make it much more efficient, and you deliver in one shot. But your policy does not allow it. Zincated urea, you are allowed a premium of 500 rupees. It doesn't, 500 rupees per ton. It does not even cover the cost. So how much zincated urea is produced in India? Zero. A little bit of NPK NPK with boron, a little bit of NPK with something else is produced. How much is it? Barely 2% or 3% of your production goes into that. I still, कभी दिल करता है उनको हार चढ़ाने जो कंपनियां करती हैं, you're losing money to do it. It's very difficult to do it on a consistent basis. Solution is, like you talked about fertilizer subsidies being reduced and all that. What I say is, okay, what kare? I say that you allow the industry to fortify and charge a premium, whatever it is. You leave it to me and the farmer to decide whether this premium is payable or not. Whether the farmer decide, let the farmer decide कि मैं इस पे 500 रुपए, I will pay a premium of 500 rupees per bag on a zincated urea or not. Why should you decide that this is the premium that you will pay? This is the premium the farmer will. We need to understand one thing. We have 700 agriculture universities in India. We churn out 50,000 agriculture graduates. And they're all coming from agriculture active families. 50% then go back and do farming. This has been happening the last 30 years. Our literacy rate has gone to 90%. The farmer is not a farmer anymore. He or she is a business person. Let him decide what he wants. And the farmer is aware that my soil is deficient in micronutrients. And this is a solution which is available globally. It can be made available like this. But then you need a policy intervention in that. Is it going to happen? I've been talking about it for some time. Then it comes to, we talk about innovation. I'll give you a small example. I'm talking to Kapil sir. It's good to come to this forum because I met Kapil sir after many years. And we were talking about कि कहाँ है, तो I told him कि हम वहीं हैं जहाँ पे आप थे, हम वहीं हैं अभी. So he was like, he had that satisfied look on him, like तुम भी fail हो गए. I was like, okay, so now this is serious stuff. But anyway, I was giving an example. Innovation की हम बात करते हैं. Very good. There's a biostimulant company. COVID के दिन थे, उनका फोन आया, ये कर ले, वो कर ले. अब COVID में बंदा बोर हो रहा था, घर पे बैठा था, मैं I engaged with them for about 2-3 months and all that. It's a science-based biotechnology, biostimulant company. And they produced a biostimulant which can induce flowering. And that too female flowering. When you have more female flowers, you have more fruit. That is the key. उन दिनों में बायोस्टिमुलेंट के ऊपर कोई रेगुलेशन नहीं था. So they were very happy. They also collected funds from the equity market, private equity players. And it was too good to be true because biostimulant पे regulation आ गया. So I don't talk about it because वो पता चला कि मैं हंस रहा था, that is not nice. Biostimulant पे regulation आ गया. Now जो startup होता है ना, the startup world, the private equity money is like a runway. Now they are very at the end of the runway, and they don't have the regulation. They don't have the approval to produce it today. They are not able to do it. Commercially launch नहीं कर सकते. So innovation is likely to get killed like that. Last June में CFC approved some 35 biostimulants which are actually already being produced and sold in India. They approved it. Regulation has come only last week. It will take you another 6 months. Believe me when I say it, it will take you another 6 months to go through the state regulations of G2 and G3 to make it available to the farmer. So innovation is successfully killed and buried in the ground when this kind of policy is in place. You look at what is happening globally. Compare with the SAARC. अब SAARC तो रहा नहीं ना, हम तो लड़ पड़े. But still we see we are worse than Bangladesh. Is better, slightly better than Bangladesh. Nothing to be proud of. We are worse than Sri Lanka and we are worse than Pakistan. We take 804 days to register the product. अगर last year biostimulant वाला example दे दो तो it's maybe 1200 days and add another 300 days to actually deliver to the farmer is 1500 days. 1500 दिन में तो मैं तो retire हो जाऊंगा definitely. तो आप लोग देख लेना. But the reality is 4 years, 5 years to deliver a product to a farmer, which is easily available in the agriculturally advanced countries. Something to think about. Something to seriously think about. European Union is 0. China is 270 days. But China still is very quick. When they see this product is nice, they don't wait. Okay, lao. European Union based, bring it in. So we are not allowing our farmers to access innovation, be it Indian or be it international. We are not allowing it to happen. Now it is even more worrisome. Geopolitical environment is not being taken into consideration at all. Why do I say that? A very interesting slide was produced. 80 to 85% of urea in India is actually imported. Gas, yeah, otherwise. It is imported. 90% of phosphates in India are imported. That's a fact. Now I give you a stat and information. China has banned exports of fertilizers to India 100% recently. We don't know when it's going to happen. News is only coming on rare earth metals have been banned. They have banned your exports of fertilizers. Urea तो हम ले लेंगे इधर से Middle East से, but China is one of the largest producers of phosphatic fertilizers. They deliver 40% of phosphates to India. Phosphate imports are 40% from there. It's gone. Phosphatic imports in India now having 740. So that number that was presented, 1.8 whatever crores it is, it's going to go up. It's going up. You don't have a bouquet of products for the farmer. 80% of your water-soluble fertilizers targeted at the fruits and vegetable segment are coming from China. That's gone. Bear in mind, horticulture segment in India delivers 33% of the GVA. 15% of your GVA is coming from commodity product. I'll give you a specific example, which should hopefully make us sit up and think. Indian grapes are 100% on fertigation. They deliver $500 million of export revenue to India every year. That is 200,000 acres of land. 500 million. So that comes to around $70,000, $80,000 per acre. Mota mota, ab pakad lo. 50% of that goes into the farmer's hand. So that income is gone. 35,000 acres, $35,000 per acre is now at threat because you don't have water soluble fertilizers coming in. And if it will come in, it will come at a much higher price from the European Union or wherever it has to come in. So you are really now struggling for your food security, nutritional security, and income security. This is the geopolitical risk that is there. How do you combat that? You need to allow the farmer an ability to decide कि ये ठीक है कि ये ठीक है. Like Dr. Mahapatra talked about liquid fertilizers. Of course, but liquid fertilizers, you need to allow it to happen. It will not happen. There was a meeting in the FAI about 6 months back, very long meeting, 2 days, nothing happened. It was like a month, snow in the month of May. So there is something that needs to be shaken up because your neighbor on the eastern border is threatening your farm incomes and also your food security. And even if that is not going to make our policy doors open up, we need to be on the right-hand side where the innovation is encouraged and made available to the farmers. Keep in mind, a farmer in India is no longer a farmer. He or she is a business person, highly educated. They know stuff better than I do, and I respect them quite a lot. But they need to be allowed access to better quality of products. Let them decide what works for them and what does not work for them. I come from a school of thought that the Indian farmer has the potential to feed the world. But please give him the tools. आप वो नहीं करोगे तो ये ऐसे ही रहेगा कि कोई आके जप्पी पाले, जादू की जप्पी, नहीं तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला. But that's the harsh reality. Keep in mind, we have 140 million hectares of land. USA has 60 million hectares of land. USA on an average does $200 billion of exports. We do $45 to $50 billion. And what is stopping the Indian farmer from reaching that? The tools. We don't give him the tools. Rather, the policy is, isko tools nahi de rahe. That is where we stand. So hopefully I've not touched too many raw nerves, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Policies, products, and geopolitics. That's very critical. I think I'll get back to you because you have, made us realize that many of us are sleeping and the risk is increasing. And we need to wake up fast and act on that. So we would like to take up some of your slides and hopefully let's see what best wherever we can do. I know many of you for 2 hours have been sitting here. There's a biopressure also, but if you can hold on for another 15-20 minutes, then we can have a break for tea and then come back and have a discussion. Quick on your biochar. That's great. This is another view, and we were chatting just before coming, and he said, I thought whether the two sides will converge or not, chemical fertilizers and biochar. He said, we can hopefully find out a way of marriage. मैं कहा सास बहू का रिश्ता ना हो जाए. The mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gulati, for this invitation. Good morning. It's almost becoming good afternoon. Okay. I also have a biological pressure to go, so we'll keep it short. Okay. So, biochar. How many of you have heard of biochar in some level of depth before this meeting? Okay. I'm surprised by this number. Okay. I'm encouraged as well. Okay. So hopefully in the next 10-15 minutes, and I'll just introduce this idea and what we've been doing with it. But so my name is Sriram. Okay, I'm one of the directors of the Heartfulness Institute. About Heartfulness, it's a non-profit organization. It's been around for 80 years, essentially a spiritual organization offering meditation to one and all, free of charge. It's global. And today, in addition to meditation, we also work on about 6 different themes, environment being the flagship theme in which we work on for social impact. And we run about 40 to 50 ecological and agricultural initiatives in this space. We're not research people, we are doers, okay, and at the grassroots level, right? So today, specifically in the ecology and agriculture space, we work in water, we work in soil health, and we work in afforestation. And we work in an integrated fashion, in an integrated execution fashion. And this organization, in terms of our track record here, is only 10 years old. Okay, and how did this come about? Because it's important to understand. When we work in these spaces, today, if you take about afforestation, like, Forest by Heartfulness, right, which is the afforestation arm of Heartfulness Institute, we are large. Today we're working with the forest department to forest about 10,000 acres in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and in 10 other states. But it's integrated approach, right? First, we take any barren land, we work on water first, okay, and then work on soil, and then work on afforestation, and then talk about plantation, how you plant, and then integrate community, right? So it's really an integrated story for us. It's not like, a silo. But talk about biochar, I'll just introduce and then say how this journey came about. A number of challenges are there before us. I think the erudite speakers before me have touched upon it quite a bit. But biochar, like, to me, okay, Sanjay, I will compete with you in terms of how much we are equipped, to be on this panel. I'm a person from a tech area. I've been in tech management for about 25 years. I've been in biochar and agriculture for 2 years, right? But I can say honestly, that this is a passion and this is the only thing I do, okay, in the morning, evening, and night, right? And what I'm fascinated, okay, based on whatever I've seen, is that how can one single idea, okay, address or mitigate so many challenges, okay? And that is what is absolutely fascinating to me. And I want to get to the bottom of this in terms of, and really kick the tires and see how far this goes, right? Sorry. So what is biochar? Biochar is basically like coal, right? Before I get there, biochar is basically like coal, right? Coal is something like, when wood gets buried over millennia, it gets converted at low temperatures, it becomes a high carbon substance. Now, this coal is inert, right? Which means that it can remain in the soil for thousands of years. It does not degenerate, right? And biochar is similar. But biochar, the only difference is that, you can take farm residue and convert it into coal-like substance created from farm residue in a couple of hours. Okay, and it's done at high temperature. We call it pyrolysis. So you have farm residue, right? And India produces about 700 odd million tons of farm residue, right? At least 25% of it is burnt, open field burning, or it gets into decomposition, which becomes worse. It becomes methane, nitrous oxide, and so on. We all know about it, right? But when it is, instead of burning, when it is pyrolyzed, it could be low tech or high tech. It doesn't matter. Okay. And there is some differences, but we're not getting into it. And it becomes biochar. This biochar has anywhere from 60, 70, 80, sometimes even 90% carbon, right? And this is available plenty in every village of India, right? And when this is mixed with certain amendments, okay, whether it's compost, whether it's biofertilizers, whether it's NPK, doesn't matter. And when it's applied to the soil, it does magic. Okay, and we'll get into those details, right? The other way to produce biochar is industrial biochar, okay, where we take the same biomass, but then we need to transport it. There's a carbon footprint. But when you pyrolyze it, or what you call pyrogasify it, you not only get biochar, but you get syngases, which is a lean gas, which can be burnt, heat can be generated, power can be generated, but we also get wood vinegar or bio oil, right? So here there's almost zero emissions, whereas in artisan biochar, there is some level of emissions, right? Now getting into, but one thing, in the last 2 years, okay, there's been a sudden increase, or interest in terms of everybody's behind biochar because of carbon credits, right? There are registries which has come up in Europe, which now recognize biochar carbon credits, and it sells from anywhere from $100 to $150, right? And what is magical here, let's say we're growing trees, that also gets carbon credits, but it's not permanent because a forest fire can take it out. Okay, or somebody can come and cut it after 10 years, right? When all the difficult work has been done. But once biochar has been generated and it's been sequestered in soil, Science says that it remains in the soil for thousands of years, 5 to 6,000 years. 75% of the biochar you put in soil remains there for thousands of years. And this is magical. So there is a Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the 2022 report. Okay, it said that biochar is possibly the one tool which can, it's about almost 2.6 billion tons, okay, of carbon dioxide can be sequestered using biochar. This possibly is a phenomenal tool to start combating climate change. I'll come to Heartfulness Institute journey. What you see here on the left is how it was just 10 years back, absolutely barren land. And what you see on the right, like, is how it has become. Okay, it is a green oasis. It is a case study of ecological transformation. But today, I'll just talk about some metrics. Water table was about 1,200 feet below ground. 6 years later, the water table has come up to 300 feet below ground, right? This is our water capability, okay, what we've done. There were about 200 trees, okay, dotted with some neem trees and babul trees. Today, we've planted about 150,000 trees, right? Agriculture, not just in Kanha, but in the entire region, because of extended drought, had come to a complete stop. Today, agriculture is back with a bang, right? And where, forget about even trees were not there, forget about tree species, bird species was not there. 2 years back, thanks to the biodiversity that this plantation has brought out, okay, we see about 120 bird species have been spotted, right? So it's a case study. I warmly invite all of you to actually come visit the place. We would be happy to host you and walk you through. So one place, okay, you've done ecological restoration, big deal. What's the big deal with this, right? Today, land like this, which was low on nutrients, low on high porosity, no water holding capacity, low soil organic carbon, okay, it's been converted into a green oasis. Today, we are taking this experience and going out into the world and working with the department, the forest department, and we are doing afforestation, right? Today, Forest by Heartfulness runs about 38 projects, about 10,000 hectares. And this is a place in Shivgarh in Madhya Pradesh, completely barren. And today, in about 18 months, this is what we've done. We've actually created about 30 crore liters of water, about 36 earthen check dams, watershed management, and we are doing plantation. So the projects are integrated, right? When it comes to, so we started with using biochar 8 years back, okay, not because of carbon credits, because we wanted to see in terms of what it can do to absolute barren place, which we had inherited and purchased. And what we've done 2 years back, 3 years back, is about is got into afforestation. Today, we are looking at agriculture. It's only in the last 2 years that we're working on agriculture, right? I'll get to biochar in agriculture, what can be the impact, right? It's a highly porous substance, okay? It just kind of crumbles in your hand, right? It's so light, and its water holding capacity, depending on the biomass, can be 1x to 3x. Not just water holding, but nutrient holding also, right? And it's so porous, it's like a honeybee structure, honeycomb structure, that 1 kilogram of biochar, okay, it has surface area equivalent to 100 acres. And how much do we put on 1 acre of land? About 1 ton to about 2 tons or 4 tons, right? So you're adding almost about 400,000 acres, okay, of carbon surface area and porosity, right? So what it does is it brings microbial microbes back into the soil. It makes the soil alive, right? And these data is based on whatever our experience in the last couple of years. Take it with a pinch of salt or barrel of salt. Okay, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, it seems to hold potential for further exploration, right? It reduces water needs by about 30-40%. And we've seen 15 to 30% improvement in yield in the first season, right? And its potential for carbon removal I've talked about, and it remains 1,000 years. See, whether it's fertilizers, biofertilizers, compost, biostimulants, we have to put it season after season, right? That's the norm. But the difference with biochar is that you put it once in the soil, once, and it remains and it produces yield, for season after season. And we don't know. I mean, there is one other company in the space. They said we've actually put 2 tons, 4 tons, and we've seen phenomenal results for 6 seasons. That's the time that they've done the research, right? So it's something fascinating and magical. It is not a substitute for fertilizer because it does not degenerate, it does not compost, which means it does not give nutrients to the soil. Then how does it help the crop at all? Now, this particular porous structure, it becomes a home and a housing for bacteria. And when you inoculate with bacteria, and there's an explosion of bacteria because of the housing, and when you put organic substances like compost, what happens is you have the food, and there's an explosion of microbial life in the soil, and that creates magic. It solubilizes micronutrients, fixes nitrogen. You know this all better than I do. So where is biochar to be used? These kind of soils, sandy, clay, saline soils, it also has the ability to lock in salinity or even toxicity, okay, in areas like, where there's toxic metals. It locks it in and actually allows the soil, to improve vegetative properties. Now, this is where we started 2 years back. We set it up at our own headquarters in Kana Shantivanam in Heartfulness. But then today we've set up about 20 units across India. This is low tech, right? We are getting to high tech, by the end of this year. Okay. Initially, we were kind of at the village level. We were doing centralized, which means one place in the village. Then we found that, hey, it's even taking a lot of money to get this biomass from all over the village to a central facility. This year, we're trying at innovating, we were going to the farm, taking the biomass, converting it to a biochar, and leaving it in the farm and working with the farmers to see how to apply. Small scale, not big. Probably about this year, we'll probably touch about 3,000 acres, okay, in about 5 states. Our very, very initial experiment, there's no research at all. But when we tried doing soil control, and we tried applying different amounts of biochar, the result was quite stark, right? It encouraged us, to go further. Last year, we partnered with Central Institute of Cotton Research. Okay, we in about 3 districts, 2 in Gujarat and 1 in Madhya Pradesh. And we ran trials. What you see on the left here is where the no biochar. This is the way we ran it is ½ acre of control and ½ acre of treatment, right? And the only difference is biochar. And the farmer practices, the soil types are different. The irrigation methods are different. The seeds are different. Okay, and everything is different. But the only difference between the treatment is biochar. And what we saw was about a 18 to 32% increase, okay, in yield in the first year between this ½ acre of control and ½ acre of biochar. And not just the yield, that's the final outcome, but we were tracking the data, with our partners, CICR. And we saw that the plant height, the vegetative height was higher. The number of sympodial branches, the branches in which cotton balls grow, were higher. The length was higher. Flowering was 8 to 12 days earlier. The flower drops were lesser. And the yield also was higher. Okay, but the qualitative, when I went with the soil scientists, one farmer said something and this is very, very positive, right? And we told the farmer, see, you'll do exactly the same, in both the control and treatment, right? But farmers never do what we ask them to do, right? So this farmer was saying Dekho, I have ½ acre here. I have drip irrigation. I have drip irrigation everywhere, right? Every week, twice I applied drip. 8 hours a day. And this is what I do. Okay. But I saw after the 3rd or 4th week, that the biochar field, its soil moisture is very high. So I reduced it. Okay. Here in control, I give water 8 hours a day. And here I give 5 hours a day. And even then I find that on the 3rd day, okay, the one where I put 5 hours a day, which is 37% lesser water, it seems to have more soil moisture. And this is I think the starting of the magic, because it has so much water absorption and nutrient absorption capacity that it feeds it back, okay, little by little, keeps the soil moist. The soil is moist, it grows deeper, the roots grow deeper, okay, and magic happens, right? So, and the last thing, okay, again, this, we are trying to do better design, for the research. The last one I want to point out is the dry matter. Okay, the cotton or yield is 18 to 32% higher, but the root mass and the vegetative mass of it itself, has gone up anywhere from 7% to 54%. And the interesting thing is this is across the Gujarat farmers were conventional farmers, urea, DAP, potash, and the Madhya Pradesh farmers were organic farmers. So we have set up, okay, thanks to CSR funds, we've set up a Biochar Center of Excellence, was inaugurated by Gadkari ji just about a month back, right? And we're seeing in terms of and the way to, so there are 2 things, right? You can industrialize this model, but the raw material comes from the villages. That's where the biomass is, and bringing it to a central place is also expensive. So I think there's room for both. Okay, we can set up large-scale industrial units, but we can also set up small entrepreneurs, who can actually, it's a low-tech thing and it can be taught. And they can convert locally available biomass into biochar and offer it back to the farmers, right? And make money also. And what we are trying to see is if we can generate carbon credits, we've generated about 2,000 carbon credits this year. Okay, just from January to now, right? It's just the beginning of the journey. And if this carbon credits can be monetized and this can actually subsidize biochar to the farmers, right? We're a non-profit, social impact is everything. And this is also something like, which in the early stages where there is no policy, yes, for subsidy, the question is like, can we use carbon credits to subsidize this for farmers? I'll come back to it. We are not a research organization. Neither are we like, a commercial organization. We're a non-profit, like, with the intent being social impact. But what I see myself, like, from the tech industry, like, we're a system integrator. We work with execution partners with a lot of scale and touch, like, with farmers. Samannati, like, for example, works with 6,500 farmer producer organizations, right? Arvind Mills works with 50,000 farmers. We're working with them. We have become a carbon credit agency, one of our partners. We work with ICAR and others, like, and we're looking for grants, like, where we can actually do this at scale. There are hurdles. This is still very early in the journey, a lot of potential, but cost, scaling, validation at scale for different crops and so on, like, awareness is hardly there, okay, and how to develop entrepreneurs. So my last couple of slides. So in terms of how to really take it forward, two thoughts, right? One is in terms of like, to run these biochar trials at scale. Okay, my next step, like, is to adopt 20 villages, and this would be across 10 agroclimatic zones. When we adopt a village, let's say we take 100 or 200 acres, and the number of crops that will be done there is possibly 6, 8, 10, right? So I think we can touch about 40 to 50 crops, but it'll bring diversity. And we look at working with state agricultural universities to actually do this in a transparent scientific fashion. That's one. That's in terms of scale and diversity. The other one is crop specific research. The top crops, whether it's wheat or bajra, whatever it is, right? I mean, let's work with crop. We've been working with cotton, but we want to expand that by and work with crop science institutes, because large scale research, okay, it'll actually get us data and it will lead to policy advocacy. What will this achieve? From an agronomy perspective, to measure productivity, measure nutrition. There's been a lot of talk about nutrition being very important, fertilizer use, water use, and the residual effect of soil. But on the other side, from an operational space to scale it up, how can it improve unit economics? How can it set up the entrepreneur model and develop the SOPs for biochar application, right? To help the ICAR universities develop that and to scale it and to create awareness, right? But this can only happen when it's calibrated across, like, large scale trials. So that's really what I had to say. Thank you very much.
That's great. I think we had both the views and this can supplement each other. I won't hold you for long. We need a break. So we meet after 15, 20 minutes here, and then we'll have an open discussion. Great. Thank you very much, Sopan. Thank you very much for coming back. I think we should use this time for open house discussion. And what I would suggest is short, pointed questions. And if you are addressing to any one of them, uh, please let us know that. And not big lectures. You know, the difference of opinion and observations can be very long. We are pretty short on time. So I would do that 3 questions we will take up at a time and then go in the batch of 3 at least, so that more and more questions can be raised. Ritika, you want to come? Okay. Because there could be questions on your presentation. Mhm. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please identify yourself quickly.
As professional consultant on some areas.
Ji.
I have 2, 3 questions. One is the.
2, 3 questions. Okay,
Okay,
quick.
okay, I'll ask just 2 questions.
quick.
Yeah,
Please.
okay. Recently, the Punjab government, they have banned cultivation of certain rice varieties and particularly hybrid paddy and
Okay, I think
this
you can,
Pusa 44.
ठीक है.
Okay.
Done.
Reason
sir.
is the water.
Uh-huh.
Okay, second question is in 2012,
Uh.
2013 or the 2nd January 2013,
Uh-huh.
government announced one NIP policy,
Mhm.
new investment policy to stop import of urea.
Mhm.
But still good quantity of import of urea is there.
Uh-huh.
Reason, when we will be self-reliant.
There is no question of self-reliance. 80% of the gas is being imported. Finished. Self-reliance, kya self-reliance? All the input is being imported. Entire fertilizer industry is 70 to 80% import dependent. Potash is 100%. Phosphate, either the rock or phosphoric acid is being imported, you don't have it. And urea, 80 to 85% gas is being imported. Kaha ki self-sufficiency?
These are the oil wash.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead. Yes, it's all. Go ahead.
I'm Dinesh Sharma. I'm a freelance journalist.
Uh,
You see, one of the biggest problem of this, we are talking about the soil health. This plastic pollution is a very big problem, which I can see in my plastic pollution.
Okay,
Too much plastic you
Okay.
can find in the field, agricultural field.
okay,
So unless we tackle this problem, we cannot improve the soil health.
okay,
This is my
all right,
observation.
okay, observation. Yes, please, you and. Uh-huh.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Shubhangi, a fellow at ICRIER. My question is to Dr. Mahapatra. In Odisha, you must be knowing there's a district called Bargarh, which is highly fertilizer intensive, and that's why it has a serious implication on the human health that Bargarh is now called the cancer center of the world. Now, my particular question here is when I went to visit there, we had seen that the soil lacks, or I can tell that the soil has no dung beetles or earthworms, which are extremely essential for soil fertility as well as for nutrient incorporation in the plants. So how would we go about that? And is there a way that we tell the farmers to shift? Because I think that's a
Okay,
big
what is
question.
this cancer city of the world? I didn't know about that. Okay, we had 3 questions. I think, yeah, because.
Yeah, actually,
Punjab.
no, see, banning of Pusa 44 happened some years ago. Long duration rice, obviously consuming more water. So we thought, let's finish it up at the stage of the bitter seed production. No bitter seed production, so obviously you don't supply, good quality seed for production. But farmers do save their seeds and they produce seeds and distribute among themselves. So Pusa 44 still continues to be grown by farmers, despite the fact that government has discontinued producing, its bitter seed. So just a minute. So issue is that the yield that they obtain with this long duration variety, obviously yield gives more advantage and more profit, so that they continue doing that. But the kind of straw it generates and leading to burning, so those issues are there, and that is one reason why we do not want to continue with Pusa 44. We have shorter duration varieties and substitutes for Pusa 44. They do not give as much yield as Pusa 44, obviously, because of the kind of constellation of genes which are there in Pusa 44. Now there are some developments which give as good as Pusa 44 yield, and with additional some traits which are desirable, which are deficient in Pusa 44. So probably it will take some time to reach the field, but substitutes are there. Better substitutes are coming. So hopefully in a few years' time, we should be able to really completely address the issue. But the issue of water saved or saving water remains, crucial for Punjab. And we can't continue growing very long duration rice varieties. So that is both in Basmati and non-Basmati sector. Hybrid issue that you have raised. This is something, recently I was going through the data. Some of the new hybrids which are released this year, they gave more than 8 tons. More than 7 tons is very common in many different locations in Punjab. Paddy, not rice. Paddy. It gives more than 7 tons at least in Punjab, the hybrid rice. So obviously, as compared to other rice, which gives about 6 tons per hectare, if one gets 7 to 8 tons, obviously they will go for that. Duration less than Pusa 44, and yield is high. So banning that, and if duration is less, obviously there will be water saving. So
They are protesting on that.
and
Number of companies they are protesting.
yes. So I will not take names of company, but certainly company, farmers would come forward and they would protest, against this decision, because if they have advantage with lesser duration, lesser water use, higher yield, so that situation is going to be there in a shorter period of time.
Sure.
Though government banning it. So anyway, so that is the issue. The other point which was raised is the Bargad issue. There are many places which are called cancer, district.
Even in Punjab.
In Punjab and all that. So coining those, kind of phrases are okay. But certainly, I have seen that in that region, so there is certainly more use of fertilizer and pesticides. Probably we have not been able to address the soil issues, and which has led to the earthworm and maybe other microbes which are impacted. So there is a requirement of a study there, very systematic study. One need to really understand, first of all.
She's ready to do it.
Yeah.
Why did you?
Yeah.
come
So I think we need to really, have a detailed study. You have done that?
The published, it says state-wise chemical pesticide consumption, and in the law, and this is cancer incidence, state-wise.
No. So that's okay.
The quantity consumed,
Yeah.
the number of percentage of patient, cancer patient.
Yeah. So, cancer cannot be just correlated with the pesticide and fertilizer. Those correlations may be at times spurious. One need to really look at others. There are several other factors which cause cancer.
If you put a number of cars in that state and cancer cases,
It might correlate.
correlation.
So very difficult to say that because of that the cancer is happening more.
Causality.
Yeah. So
Causality needs
one
to
need
be-
to really delve deeper.
So thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, back to the one, I'm coming. बोलिए.
Dr. Gulati, thank you for inviting me to come to this. We have met earlier long back.
You ask the question,
I want
please.
to tell you a
The
couple
time
of
is
things.
short.
Soil is absolutely not necessary at all for cultivation of the crops. The reason I'm telling you is this. Population is going to double up in a couple of years. And then the soil mass will remain the same thing. We will not be able to grow crop that is required that much quantity. We have to have different technologies that I have developed on orbiting space shuttle NASA. NASA has now collaboration with ISRO in Bangalore. So they are into agriculture, both of them into agriculture. So we must try that. I have a product developed on orbiting space shuttle NASA, which we are prepared to give it to you, exclusive rights from US. A letter has been already sent to you by my colleague, Dr. Richard Stoner on this. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Yeah, myself, Dr. P.N. Tucker, former founder director of the Indian Institute of Soil Science. I have few observations, not questions. The observation one is the soil health. What determines the soil health is the soil testing laboratories. That is missing from the discussion. The health of the soil is as good as the health of the soil testing laboratory. I see a very poor health of the soil testing laboratories. Unless we improve that, we cannot improve the soil health, and thereby in the chain of the soil, water, plant, animal, and human, health is there. That's known as one health, if in the go in the chain. So the basic of determining the soil health, we are missing in the discussion.
Okay.
Number two, observation is that the important nutrient, sulfur, is missing, which is very important for the human health, particularly for the essential amino acids which produced in the plant, and it helps in the human health. Other thing, my observation is that the soil health is missing with respect to the toxicity. You see, the toxicity has resulted from the irrigation adopting of this rice wheat system in many of the states. For example, in Punjab, we have a rice wheat system adopted in Sharpur. In the Sharpur district, there's the only source of irrigation was in one place is tubewell water. There's no water. And after 8 years, there's a selenium toxicity. I was the first to diagnose the selenium toxicity there. So that is affecting the animal health and human health is there. So a similar example is there for in the arsenic toxicity in the West Bengal there. So those issues of the soil health needs to be attended because water is missing in the irrigation, and water base is missing because if there's a high load of nitrate, then we need to have a less application of the fertilizer even.
Sure.
That could be a source of nitrogen there could be used for that, identify those. And also the source of boron. Irrigation water in many areas, the source of the boron. That needs to be taken into account while discussion so that we have a wholesome program for the soil health and vis-a-vis the human health. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, please. Tewatia, sir.
I am Dr. R.K. Tewatia, ex-Director Agriculture Sciences FAI, and presently I am with IMA as Executive Director, Indian Micro Fertilizers Manufacturers Association. Sir, we all know balanced fertilizer use is prerequisite to encourage the or improve the soil health. But I think why the concerned organizations, particularly ICR, State Agriculture Universities, FAI, your organization, and Niti Aayog, despite knowing that the present fertilizer policy does not encourage balanced fertilization, so why we have failed in convincing the government of India to have some reforms in fertilizer
Okay.
sector.
Mhm.
And then likewise, Mr. Kanwar also raised the discussion of this regulatory. Regulatory system, we also need reforms. Because now it take 2 to 3 years in including a new product or innovative product in FCO.
Okay. Yes, please.
Sir, I have only two questions. Basically, we all are talking about carbon and we are generalizing carbon as such, but we came to know that microbial biomass carbon is the best one. And with the increasing temperature, what's the impact on the carbon that's going in the soil? Because source sink relationship is always working. Apart from this, sir, I'm very happy to see that you have interconnected soil health with crop health, ultimately human health. But have we per se looked into what kind of nitrate toxicity is happening in our crops? So in vegetable case, we are very much aware. Yes, nitrate toxicity is there. So I think that you have raised a very pertinent question. That's why nanofertilizers came into being. Because whatever nitrate is not being utilized by the crop, through increasing the use efficiency, you're putting into perspective nanofertilizers, where they can enhance the use efficiency of the crop and utilize the nitrate which is lying there. So certainly feedback inhibition is there. You cannot feed the crop if it's not requiring it. So there is some kind of inhibition mechanism that's working there. So I think that 360-degree approach will be better. Thank you.
There was one person at the, piche pele. Oh, there you go. I think we can collect as many questions. I think you can.
Thank you, sir. Myself, Dr. Rohit Sharma, I work with Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. I see the panel. First, I'd like to congratulate ICRIER for organizing this distinguished panel. I see the panel as a policymaker involved, science and research organization involved, and an enabler like Sriram sir involved. I just wanted to understand what is stopping the biochar scale or per se the carbon market scale. Yeah.
Good. Yes, please. There we go.
Yeah, good afternoon. I am Dr. Devashish, Head of the Division Soil Science and Agricultural Chemistry, IARI, New Delhi. I think much of the soil health was discussed, but one point I would like to just bring to the notice, that is land degradation, and land degradation due to soil erosion. We know that there is permissible limit of soil erosion, but as a policy, there is no such guidelines that soil, how it can be brought below tolerance limit. This is number one. Second point is that, of course, this question was to our director, Indian Institute of Soil Science, Bhopal, but he's not here. Anyway, actually, sir, the zinc deficiency is only 36% as per the soil health card. But in Bihar and Eastern UP, where the zinc is even high, farmers are applying 20 kg of zinc sulfate. They are not convinced that though it is high. So just supplement Dr. P.N. Thakur Saab that soil testing, again, the reliable data is to be generated. Okay, and one more point, sir.
Okay.
This is just to supplement our honorable former DG, Dr. Trilojan Mohapatra, sir, that productivity per unit area, if it is increased, then there is a concept, of course, maybe you are aware, land sparing and land sharing. So we have to spare some land for biodiversity conservation. It is possible when per unit of productivity is increased. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anji. Okay, go ahead.
I do not have any question as such, but then I am very glad to hear about Sriram sir's project. And we also have a similar ongoing project in which we are using bamboo charcoal in Varanasi. However, we have funding for like 3 years.
Could you introduce yourself and the
I'm
organization?
Dr. Tulika Bhattacharya from Japan International Cooperation Agency.
Okay.
So we have ODA kind of project, short-term project.
Okay.
But thereafter, if there are any NGOs and maybe in the house, there are other organizations who might be. So if there is anything on which we can collaborate and learn.
He can work in Varanasi.
Yes. So let us explore that. And also if there are other people.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, either did.
Excellent set of presentations and observations. One small calculation I was just trying to do, my question is related to that. If we consider about 1 lakh crore of subsidy being given on urea, and 60% of that goes down either to the air or to the water.
Yes.
So it spoils our air with nitrous oxide, it
Yes.
spoils our water with nitrates. And then consequences of that. Then we also spoke about, so this is 60,000 crore of subsidy going down the drain to pollute our environment and our ecosystem.
Yes, yes.
Now, this is a very simple fact. How do we communicate this to the government? That is number one. Number two, my question is around nutrient use efficiency. Balanced nutrition, nutrient use efficiency, I think has been talked quite a lot. And I think everybody who has basics of agriculture in focus will know that. And there is a law of minimum that it's the smallest amount of micronutrient which decides what the use efficiency of the major nutrient is going to be. How do we get focused attention of Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Fertilizers into the simple aspect of improving nutrient use efficiency as a policy goal and not, just subsidizing fertilizers?
For the benefit of the audience, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Kapil Bain. I currently advise a few companies, an independent director, but formerly managing director of Coromandel and director in Tata Chemicals. Thank you.
Whole lifetime commitment to fertilizer. Actually.
Plus 40 years now.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sulakshana Rao, Senior Fellow at ICRIER. My question to the entire panel is that how many things a farmer will take care of? He is expected to take care of soil health, the crop health now, and also the nutrition aspect. But shouldn't we rather be investing on R&D rather? Like recently, Jirkas and Cimet have come up with a BNI wheat variety, which is a biological nitrogen nitrification inhibition, wherein 15 to 20% nitrogen use is being reduced, and also it inhibits the nitrification in the soil. So this is undergoing static trial. Can such varieties be, developed in other crops other than, wheat, like rice or all other crops that are there? Shouldn't our focus be in developing such varieties rather? Thank you.
Okay, good. I think we can get back to the answers now. Second and third round. Mahapatra Sahab, you have the largest number of questions, except the policy question I can take up on the fertilizer policy. Or Ritika, you want? Yeah, biochar. Yeah. You want to start? Yeah, that's better. I think biochar.
So biochar is the new kid on the block. Okay, it might have potential, but I think all products with potential need to be researched, and we need to follow a scientific rigor before it's introduced to the field. I think that's where it is. Unfortunately or fortunately, while biochar itself might be thousands of years old, it's never really come into scientific, there's a lot of research happening, but it's not translated into actions. Unfortunately, a lot of focus on biochar is only because of carbon credits. There are a lot of startups which are into biochar because they want to generate carbon credits, and frankly are dumping biochar in land and not even distributing it to farmers, right? But I think we need to go through a journey, okay, like a child becomes an adolescent and becomes an adult. I think it's a natural process, and even things which look magical, might not be the ideal solution, right? So we're just going through the journey. It's a question of time. Yeah.
Thank you. Sanjeev ji, if you are done with your there are interesting questions about the nitrate toxicity in crops and the use of nanofertilizer, and then how to increase the nutrient use efficiency by picking up one micronutrient into it, and then the macronutrient efficiency can go up. So you are the technical person.
And I must confess publicly, I'm not technically qualified as an agronomist or as even as an engineer. But I think I can certainly take on the innovation side of it. I think inhibitors are available. You can use micronutrients to as inhibitors for preventing urea from dissolving very quickly in the soil. You can convert a normal prilled urea with the right kind of micronutrients, a zinc, let's say 2% or 0.25% or 0.3% coating. These are available, and you can have an impact in reducing the release of nitrogen into the soil. That should have an impact on nitrification. But it again brings you back to innovation. And innovation brings you back to policy. And the policy is the
Which
policy.
you don't want to talk about.
No, I think I've talked enough about it. I hope I get my subsidy bill paid this month. Neem coated urea is there, then it's there, but one silver bullet is not going to fix the problem that we have. You need everything. Like, okay, let's go back May 10th and May 11th when we were attacked from the western border. S-400 is a platform. It's not a weapon. It's a weapons platform which used everything. We used the BrahMos, we used the Akash Tir and so on and so forth. So and even the AK guns came into place. You need everything for your farmers. So we need options there. And one question which was, I think I would want to go back to is on the cancer thing, because that is something again related to human health. And coming from a bit of Punjabi in me, it bothers me that Punjab has a lot of cancer patients and we don't smoke. We drink, but we don't smoke. So, yeah, let's be very practical about it. The challenge is when you look at our fertilizer control order, there's no focus on heavy metals. There's no focus on heavy metals. So आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो. It doesn't matter as long as it meets the minimum nutrients, but there's no talk about minimum maximum contaminants. So the policy also needs to move. I mean, it can be in one shot you could do it. You could say, this is the minimum nutrients we need. This is the maximum contaminant we allow. You breach this, you're not allowed to sell. And that's it. So this is what we need to do. I mean, it is, innovations are there, sir. But like the Indian Armed Forces, are we, this sector, which is the second line of defense, are we ready to accept innovation? That's a question which is all over this discussion panel.
Policy is lagging
Policy,
behind.
it's the policy, sir.
You want to take up testing labs, poor quality?
Yeah, so 2-3 points are there. So maybe the last point first. Sulakshana said that how many issues farmers would be asked to tackle. Certainly, farmers get confused, I must admit. And also, you see there are 10 people talking 10 different things. And then I say something, somebody else comes, yes, somebody else comes. So this is highly confusing for the farmers. In absence of a unified system of advisory, so the farmers get confused. That's very true. The second is that we try to promote integrated pest management, for instance. If there are 10 things to do, farmers would never do that. That is one of the reasons why integrated pest management has not gone really beyond certain points. So if there are too many components to take care, so it becomes difficult for farmers also to manage. So obviously, if we have something inbuilt in the seeds, as you rightly said, that the seed itself takes care of the nitrogen, accessing it from the soil, or zinc along with this, or something else along with this, and accumulating that and transporting that, and also addressing pollution issues. The methane emission is less in rice. There are some plants now, technologies where methane emission is reduced in rice because of the rice variety itself.
So now those things are being discussed, and probably it would not be in near future we'll have plants which will address all the issues, but then maybe few issues, very rightly said, and that should be the focus of research, and that is being done globally, and it would take time to have rich dividends out of it. So, for instance, I'll cite one example that microbes in the soil is a very important component of the soil as a living system. The dynamic system Tucker Saab was telling that soil testing होना चाहिए. Testing हो रही है, लेकिन microbial component कोई test ही नहीं करता. It's a very important part. लेकिन प्लांट वैरायटी ऐसे ब्रीड होना चाहिए जो माइक्रोब को पॉजिटिवली सिलेक्ट करेगा. कैसे सिलेक्ट करेगा? The right kind of carbon compounds it can secrete and promote the rhizosphere zone with that kind of organisms which will help the plants to acquire more of nutrient from the soil which are fixed. So in the process, 10 problems you can solve if you can address this one problem, that promoting right kind of microbes by way of secreting the carbon compounds which are required by microbes. So अभी इसके ऊपर रिसर्च हो रही है. So ये पूरा राइजोस्फीयर इंजीनियरिंग हो जाएगा अगर खाली रूट को हम उसका एक्सक्रेशन जो होती है, सिक्रेशन हो रही है, उसमें हम उसको मैनिपुलेट कर देंगे. सो इस तरह का रिसर्च अभी हो रही है. सो इसी तरह का बहुत सारी चीजें करने के लिए है, बट इट इज सर्टनली अ गुड पॉइंट. आई थिंक वी नीड टू रियली एड्रेस दिस. द सेकंड वन, certainly, soil testing labs which are available, and this soil testing which we did with small instruments, 1 लाख से कम जो बनाए हैं, मृदा परीक्षक for instance, and all that, 12 parameters उसमें नापते हैं. So ये सब हुआ, and but then repeating that at a scale at which it was done repeatedly or regularly is a huge task, and that too in every farmer's field, yet to be done actually, because a great deal of variation among farmers' fields. So it's not a small job to do testing, even if you have labs. First of all, good labs, and having those, funding those, and creating, maybe private sector chipping in to create those labs and doing that in a commercial scale. So they are all alternatives, because government cannot have and run this kind of labs at a scale which is required. So probably there is a requirement of private investment, and then doing that at a scale which is required for the farmers. But more than that, I think there is a need to use more of technology, because by using imaging platforms, at this point in time, Dr. Mohanty presented that mid-infrared MIR technology used for soil fertility assessment. Some aspect which is quite accurate can be used, but there are some aspects of fertility assessment which is yet to be actually made accurate by using technology. So Honorable Prime Minister keeps talking about handheld device, and mid-infrared use in a handheld device is one of those. But it is, though some handheld devices are available, but a long way to go to use that regularly. So doing that at a scale, in the country, providing farmer solutions through wet lab may not be really the approach, but the other imaging platforms, sensor-based platforms, if they're used, that would be useful. But I think, again, we need to have technology there, intervention there. Policy, again, support would be required there. So this is required, and I fully agree.
What about nano?
Nano, we tested, and I think this is one aspect which need to really work. This is not just nano urea, which they created, IFCO created, and initially whatever was there, now we have improved the percentage of nitrogen there, and obviously there is a lot of research happening, and some products are there in the field. But certainly nano has advantage. We can't deny this. Nano, the level at which we can apply and reduce, increase efficiency, reduce environmental negative impacts. So all these are there associated with nano, and we have seen at least 25% of total fertilizer apply you can address in several crops. But then how it works and what are the science aspects associated, a lot more need to be done. But I can say that nano is one option to go forward.
Right.
May not be the silver bullet for everything. You need to really work on whatever available. So this is one. There are other things, but I will stop here.
Thank you. Yes, please. Now we are standing between the lunch, food security. I don't know how much
So right-
nutrition is there. but-
So right time I am asking the questions and comment. Yeah, myself, Dr. Binay Kumar Parida. I am Chief Agronomist in Coromandel International. Coming to biochar, so since 2018, we are conducting the research and trial with the Aston University, Punjab Agriculture University, Ludhiana, and Coromandel as a project. Here, the main issue, crux is the cost economics. The product is giving a very good value addition, either as a substitution of urea or as a extra addition. But the cost economics is which is withdrawing us, even if we are having this Morugappa Chettiar Research Center through which we are doing, but it is one aspect. The other thing coming to this, we are doing a lot of soil test. The government is doing 2 crores soil test. But who is studying the report? Analysis, interpretation of the soil test results is not done by the farmers. Simply they are giving the soil test report. But just like blood report, test report, again, can we prescribe medicine for ourselves own? No, that is not happening. So that interpretation, even if you will check with the farmers, there the soil test has not been done in his field. That thing is another one. Another is we talk a lot about the biofortification. But when it comes to the fortification of the fertilizers, not happening. Everybody is showing, so many speakers, Sanjeev sir, then Mahanti sir, everybody is showing this multi-nutrient deficiency is there. Still, in our books, textbooks as of now, which I have studied 25 years before, and my previous people have studied, I think 100 years, means 60, 70 years before. Still, we are recommending urea, DAP, and SSP. Who is it? The scientist, the people coming from there, I am from there also. Now I am handling almost around 130 agronomists, those are MSc and PhDs. They have studied the same, urea, SSP and DAP. But the country, and then we are either Prime Minister is talking about nano-fertilizer or urea, SSP, DAP. In between, a lot of things are there, which is ignored by the scientific community. So at least these things we can tell. Education policy is very, very important, because the agriculture graduates which is produced, what they will do? They will advise only these things. And you say that this NPK ratio is very, very high in Punjab, Haryana and other things because of use of urea. And down south, Coromandel is there, they are having the major NPK producers. That's why the NPK use ratio is near to the 4:2:1. That is the reason. And while we are addressing the multi-nutrient deficiency, we are not talking about these complex fertilizers and forgetting about the fortification of the fertilizers. But we are going into that way. That we have to look into that. And there is a major gap between the agriculture ministry and the fertilizer ministry. Though the products are in the FCO, in spite of a number of 3 to 4 years of trial we have done, put it in the FCO, fertilizer ministry again, what is the report? So there is a fight between these two ministries there. So that we have to tackle. So forget about the new other things. So that is something very, very busy is there that we have to address into this. We have a lot of things, because I am a soil scientist from PAU. So I can speak for hours problems, but we have to look into these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we need to wrap it up. I'll just,
if you allow me to say.
no.
Conclusion, I say one line. Three industries, they are growing now with this subject. One is the supplement of foods, very growing. Second is the fertilizer pesticides companies. And third is the lab diagnostic center.
Okay.
D12 come over here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think we need to wrap it up. I'll just take 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, microplastic is the issue. I think this is widespread, I must say. Yeah, widespread now. And you know that human blood also has. So microplastic issue, we have not really addressed at the research level even adequately at this point in time.
Okay.
So I think the point is well taken. A lot more to be done.
Thank you.
Very little.
Yeah. I'll start with what Sanjeev has been reluctant to touch, the policy. Because we as ICRIER think tank are primarily focusing on policies. So that's where our expertise lies. And we do feel that one policy change can change the landscape quite a bit. And one of the major problems of soil today, as was mentioned earlier, unbalanced use of fertilizers. And that is emanating primarily from policy. As you rightly said, sir, 60,000 crores are being lost into environment. Not only that, I will share with you more or less the same wording that I used at this distance with the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. You are subsidizing to create poison in the system. Because this nitrous oxide is 273 times the carbon dioxide. And if plant is consuming only 35 to 40%, rest is either going there or leaching into the water and causing all that cancer and whatnot, nitrate. Where is the problem? We know the problem why we are not solving it. That was the issue. I have interacted with the powers of the day. At one stage, they were very close to taking the big call. First, earlier days, you remember Pratap Narayan days, the industry was dead against any change because they were benefiting from the system that was in existence. Thank God now industry is okay. You want to do DBT, do it, because we keep on begging the government, de do, jo kuch dena hai, farmer ko do, and deregulate the system. That is the way going forward. We have done that in the cement industry, in many other sectors of the country. Why can't we do it? When I talk to the authorities, they don't know, and that was Ritika's slide, that we don't know how many tenants are there. Who are the tenants? They are using the fertilizers, but they are not in the system. PM Kisan does not give money to the tenants. It gives only to those whose land records, and land records in this country are not perfect. So we need to triangulate a lot of data sets. We have the fertilizer sales data. Government admits that 20-25% of the fertilizer don't go to agriculture. They're going into the plywood industry, glass industry, and to the neighboring countries. If you look at what your data FAI says, fertilizer consumption in Bihar is almost as good as Punjab, but the productivity is nowhere near that. It is all going to Nepal. Everybody knows it. So there are issues around that, and I think government is inching to use a better technology now, the space technology, the fertilizer sales data, the PM Kisan data, the soil health cards data, Kisan credit card data. All these things need to be put together, triangulate the system, and then find out a viable way to proceed. In theory, government says, okay, we are ready to give it to them. In fact, I personally told the Prime Minister, I write it on the wall, 40,000 crores per annum will be the saving, because that is the leakage in the system. You will save this. You can augment the reward to the farmer. So big bang. And then you deregulate the system. And that is from policy, you come to the products. Once you deregulate the system, let the system do its job, and whether zincated urea or other things, and let them charge the price that the traffic can bear, what the farmers are ready to pay. So that is the direction in which we need to move. Quite a bit of the government bureaucracy is in agreement with that, but they find it difficult to move because this is a very big policy move. Unfortunately, the moment urea price goes up, even if you have compensated the farmer and if you have not, communicated it properly, urea price is going to go up by 300%, 400%. The moment that happens, all the opposition will be on the government. Oh, maar diya kisan ko, dekho, khatam kar diya. Parliament. So this is where the political economy. So there has to be a lot of communication with the farmer first, at the highest level. The PM has to come forward, the agriculture minister has to come forward, that there is so much leakage in the system, we want to stop it and we want to give it directly to you. Why others should benefit? We are spending all the money, 2 lakh crores, and you are not getting the full benefit. So this is the way, but there will be some turbulence in the system when this policy changes, if at all. And that is where the political economy starts coming in more and more. We said this is the time to do it because you have 2 years, 3 years to settle it in perfect place. Something slowly, gradually has started moving, but long shot. Because I have seen the earlier incarnation of this also. Oh, we will do it, we will do it. And then they develop cold feet. So there is because all the policies are made in political economy framework. And if they feel their votes will lose and this perception will go, you are anti-farmer, then they are not ready to do it. So that's where, but products, innovations will come if the policy changes. And if products innovations come, then the practices of the farmers will automatically change. So everything really hinges on this policy. And that's where we as ICRIER, as a team, we are ready to spend a year or 2 years looking in a very focused manner, but not just fertilizer policy, because the objective is much bigger. You correct this, you correct the soils, you correct the crops, you correct the nutrition of the people. Ultimate thing is agriculture is for the nutrition of the people. So this linkage has to be established. And very few people have thought in that direction, that holistically, from fertilizer policy to the health of the family, that is the journey we have to transcend. And we are ready to spend a year, 2 years with the biochar or the zincated urea or anything else. Learning, we are all students, very committed, sincere, the team is working. And anything that you can tell us, we will be happy to explore. With these words, may I request all the audience to give a good hand to our speakers. And thank you to all of you for having spent 3 hours, solid 3 hours, food for thought. And now there is some food outside. I hope it is nutritious. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So kind.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was
Thank you very
very
much.
helpful.
No.
Very helpful. नहीं आपके आने से जान आ गई
नहीं।
नहीं कभी बैठिए
इस चीज को
ना
बढ़िया करते
नहीं इस पे लिख